All right, thank you. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, October 28th, 2020 at approximately 10:15 a.m. And this is the meeting of the Engrossment, Rules, Resolution, and Credentials Committee meeting. This meeting is called to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Mcclure.
Present.
Alderman Green.
Present.
Alderman Todd.
Present.
Alderwoman Evans.
Present.
Alderwoman Grass.
Present.
Chairwoman Tyus.
Present.
6 present, you have quorum.
We lost another member, just wanted to let you know. So we are down to 6 members now. Okay. So every member is here, so there's no alderman to be excused. We're going to move to approval of the minutes of Wednesday, October 21st. And if you haven't had a minute, please take a minute to look at the minutes, and then I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of Wednesday, October 21st.
So moved.
A second.
We had a motion and second. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Mcclure.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Alderwoman Grass.
Aye.
Chairwoman Tyus.
Aye.
6 ayes vote.
By your vote, you approve the minutes of Wednesday, October 21st. The first thing we're going to do is board bills for enrollment. And at least in my copy, Board Bill 94, introduced by Alderman Jesse Todd, President Lewis Reed, and Bank, the Board of Aldermen and Bank, instead of reading all those names, which was an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor and comptroller of the city of St. Louis to execute upon receipt of and in consideration of the sum $250 and other goods and valuable consideration, a quitclaim deed to remise, release, and forever quitclaim unto the Veterans Community Project, a certain city-owned property located in City Block 1868, which property is known and numbered as 3724 Aldine in the city of St. Louis, Missouri. I had asked that we change the name Julian Bush because he was no longer our city councilor. And on my copy, it still shows his name versus Michael Garvin. So I don't know if anybody else still has that copy.
Can we just change it?
Yes, we can, but we can.
Okay.
Get up and see.
To read
It's
city
that-
to read city councilor versus Julian Bush. So we would remove.
No, because all the other names on it. On the other copies, they just put city councilor or they put comptroller or whatever, but this one they have specific names. So currently our city councilor is Michael Garvin. And it's like the second or third page from the bottom. I mean, from the back.
So, but we're going to take, are we, just so I'm understanding.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take Julian Bush's name off where the city councilor's name is and put Michael Garvin. And I had asked that last week and it got missed.
Okay.
Ma'am, I have it. I just failed to tell the clerk so he can upload it on the Google Drive. I can send it to you now.
Okay, well, as long as it's done correctly, so when I get ready to sign it, it's done correctly.
It is.
Okay, great. Okay, that was the only correction we had for board bill for enrollment, board bill number 94. If there are not any other corrections that anyone has, I'd entertain a motion to enroll board bill 94 and pass out with a due pass recommendation.
I'll make that motion that we enroll the board bill and pass it out with due pass recommendation.
Second.
Previous roll.
We have a motion that the board bill in a second, and we have a call for previous roll. Is there an objection to previous roll? Hearing none, board bill number 94 is enrolled and passed out with a due pass recommendation. The second board bill we have is board bill number 113 for enrollment, and it is a bill sponsored by Alderman Brandon Bosley. an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to amend Section 1 of Ordinance 71210 dated July 24th, 2020 by revising the legal description of Stoddard Street from Jefferson Avenue to Elliott Avenue in the city of St. Louis, Missouri, as herein described in accordance with the city charter authority and in conformity with Section 14 of Article 21 of the charter and imposing certain conditions on such vacation. Alderwoman Green, do you have any problems with Board Bill 113?
No, I do not.
Alderman Vaccaro, do you have any problems with Board Bill 113?
No, I don't. I do not.
Alderman Todd, do you have any problems with Board Bill 113?
No, I do not.
Alderwoman Evans, do you have any problems with Board Bill 113?
No, I do not.
Alderman Grass, do you have any problems with Board Bill 113?
No, I do not.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion that we enroll and pass out with a due pass recommendation, Board Bill 113.
I'll make a motion, we enroll and pass out Board Bill 115.
113.
And 113, I'm sorry.
Second.
Previous roll.
We have a motion, a second, a call for previous roll. Any objections to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 113 is passed out, is enrolled and passed out with a due pass recommendation. The next board bill is 126, introduced by Alderwoman Shameen Clark Hubbard, President Lewis Reed, and it's an ordinance authorizing and directing the fire commissioner on behalf of the mayor and the city of St. Louis to enter into and execute a grant with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency through the Missouri Department of Homeland Security for the purpose of funding to support the cybersecurity coordinating position at the St. Louis Fusion Center. Upon approval, the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, and to expand funds by entering into contracts or otherwise for grant purposes and containing an emergency clause. Alderwoman Green, any problems with Board Bill 126?
Nope, looks good to me.
Alderman Vaccaro, any problems with Board Bill 126?
No, I'm fine.
Alderman Todd, any problems with Board Bill 126?
Looks good to me.
Alderwoman Evans, any problems with Board Bill 126?
No problem.
Alderman Grass, any problems with Board Bill 126?
No problems at all.
Okay, if there are no problems, I entertain a motion that we enroll and pass out with a due pass recommendation, Board Bill 126.
I'll make the motion, we enroll Board Bill 126.
Second.
Previous roll.
We have a motion, a second, a call for previous roll. Any objection for previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 126 is enrolled and passed out with a due pass recommendation. The next board bill we have is Board Bill 127, introduced by Alderwoman Shameen Clark Hubbard and President Lewis Reed, is an ordinance authorizing and directing the fire commissioner on behalf of the mayor and the city of St. Louis to enter into and execute a grant agreement with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, Fire Prevention and Safety Grant to fund the 2019 smoke and CO alarm program upon approval of the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, and to expand funds by entering into contracts or otherwise for grant purposes and containing an emergency clause. Alderwoman Green, did you find any problems with Board Bill 127?
Nope, it looks good.
Alderman Vaccaro, any problems with Board Bill 127?
No, not at all.
Alderman Todd, any problems with Board Bill 127?
No, I didn't see any problems.
Alderwoman Evans, any problems with Board Bill 127?
Didn't see any problem.
Alderman Grass, any problems with Board Bill 127?
No problems.
Okay, hearing no problems, I'd entertain a motion that we enroll and pass out Board Bill 127 with a due pass recommendation.
I'll make a motion, we enroll and pass out Board Bill 127 with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
Second.
Previous roll.
We have a motion, we have 2 seconds, and a call for previous roll. Any objections to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 127 is enrolled and passed out with a do pass recommendation. The last bill we have for enrollment is Board Bill 134, which is in bank. It's introduced by John Coder, President Reed, and the rest of the Board of Aldermen in bank. It's an ordinance approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment and authorizing the St. Louis City Board of Election Commissioners to accept Center for Tech and Civic Life COVID-19 response grant of $1,034,200 to provide financial assistance to local election officials for expenses incurred between June 15, 2020 and December 31st, 2020, associated with the safe administration of election responsibilities, including safe election day administration and containing an emergency clause. Alderwoman Green, do you have any problems with Board Bill 134?
No, it looks good.
Alderman Bacall, any problems with Board Bill 134?
No, not at all. It looks fine.
Alderman Todd, any problems with Board Bill 134?
No, I don't have any problems.
Alderwoman Evans, any problems with Board Bill 134?
No problems.
Alderman Grass, any problems with Board Bill 134?
No problems.
Hearing no problems, I entertain a motion that we enroll and pass out with a do pass recommendation, Board Bill 134.
I'll make a motion. We pass out Board Bill 134 with a do pass recommendation.
Second,
Previous roll.
We have a motion, a second, and a call for previous roll. Any objections to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 134 is enrolled and passed out with a do pass recommendation. We now will go to engrossment of board bills. The first board bill we have is Board Bill 61, introduced by Alderwoman Navarro. It's an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission on June 3rd, 2020, to change the zoning of a property as indicated on the district map and in City Block 5522 from a single family dwelling district and H area commercial district to the H area commercial district only. Somehow I missed this one, so I need to look at this for a second. I'm going to stop my video. I'll be here just to look at Board Bill 61.
My organization has a website that's specific to activities in the Arts District, free.
Okay, I've had a chance to look at Board Bill 61, and I didn't find any problems. Alderwoman Green, do you have any problems with Board Bill number 61?
No, I don't.
Alderman Vaccaro, any problems with Board Bill 61?
No, I do not.
Alderman Todd, any problems with Board Bill 61?
No, I do not have any.
Alderwoman Evans, any problems with Board Bill 61?
No problem.
Alderman Grass, any problems with Board Bill 61?
No problems.
Then I'd entertain a motion that we engross Board Bill 61.
I'll make the motion to engross Board Bill 61, 61, I'm sorry.
Second,
Previous roll.
We have a motion and a second and a call for previous roll. Any objections to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 61 is engrossed. Board Bill 62 is a board bill introduced by Alderman Jeffrey Boyd, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission on June 3rd, 2020 to change the zoning of property as indicated on the district map from B to family dwelling district to the F neighborhood commercial district in city block 3833.18, known as 1297 Amherst Place. So as to include, and it drops off there. So I don't know what else that description says. But anyway, I've already had time to read Board Bill 62. Alderwoman Green, do you have problems with Board Bill 62?
There's one clerical issue. The headings are not, section 1 and section 2 are not uniform. So one of them has 1 spelled out, the other one has 2 numerically. And so for consistency, they need to choose which is which.
Okay, let's see here. And we're talking about on the first page?
First and second page. So on the first page, line 7, section 1 is spelled out. On the second page, line 3, section 2 is not spelled out.
It's a number.
It's a number.
Right. Madam Clerk, which way do we do it?
Okay, I'm sorry. I have the one.
Somebody, I'm sorry, we hear like something like a vacuum cleaner or something.
It's my lawn guys, and yeah, they'll be
Oh,
done
okay.
in like 2 minutes.
Okay, can you kind of mute for a minute? You can still hear?
Sure, no worries.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, so if you look at page 1, line 7,
Page 1, line 7.
it says section 1 and it's all written out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at page 2, line 3, it says section 2, but the number is not spelled out.
Okay,
So which way do we do it?
I can just put the section, spell it out, spell the 2 out.
Okay. Okay, so we are consistent. Thank you, Alderwoman Green. Great catch. I missed that. Anything else, Alderwoman Green?
That's it.
Okay, Alderman Vaccaro.
No,
Any other problems with
no, it looked good to me before, so
oh,
certainly looks good.
okay, Alderman Todd, any problems with Board Bill 62?
No, I don't have any problems.
Alderwoman Evans, any problems with Board Bill 62?
no, I don't have any problems.
Okay, Alderman Grass? If you're still there, we need you to unmute.
No problems.
All right. Hearing that there are no problems except for the change, I'd entertain a motion that we engross Board Bill 62 with the change that was suggested by Alderwoman Green.
I'll make a motion that we engross Board Bill 62 as amended, or changed. It's not amended, changed.
Either way, it's just a change. Okay. Need a second?
Second.
Previous roll.
We have a motion that Board Bill 62 be engrossed with a change recommended by Alderwoman Green. We have a call for previous roll. Is there any objection to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 62 is engrossed. The next board bill we have is Board Bill 99, introduced by Alderman Joseph Rhodey. It's an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission on February 3rd, 2020, to change the zoning of property as indicated on the district map and in City Block 3953 from K Unrestricted District to the J Industrial District at 510 South Sayre Street, including a legal description. Alderwoman Green, do you have any problems with Board Bill 99?
There's two. One,
Okay,
it has the same heading issue as the previous bill.
okay.
The second thing is line 20. There's a
Line
paragraph
24 page. Oh,
on the first page,
right.
second page, whatever, the first page of the bill, line 20.
Right.
There is a paragraph in there that should not be in there.
Okay, you're saying, because it says Development Agency on December 22nd, 2000, by document number 2020, thence along.
Right.
Is it
Said
a-
south line should be up on the same.
So there's a space, a giant space between along and said.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, are you following this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then the same issue we had in the other board bill, which would be section 1 is spelled out, but section 2 is number.
And the section 2 also isn't indented the way that it should be.
Right.
I just made the changes.
Okay, so it should be 3 changes, Madam Clerk, correct?
The indention of section 2. Section 2 is actually spelled out. Well, 2 is spelled out. And then we went up, I don't know what line that was because I already made the change.
20, line 20.
Line 20.
Because thence along and said, okay, those are the corrections.
I just push that up to the same line, so it's no space.
All right, thank you. Alderman Vaccaro, do you have any problems? Do you have any problems with?
No, I was just making those notes, but no, I'm fine with that.
With Board Bill 99, none? Okay,
Yeah.
Alderman Todd, any problems with
No,
Board Bill 99?
No, I don't have any problems.
Alderwoman Evans, any problems with Board Bill 99?
No problem.
Alderman Grass, any problems with Board Bill 99?
No problems.
Okay, with the suggested corrections made by Alderwoman Green, I entertain a motion that Board Bill 99 be engrossed.
I will make a motion that we engross Board Bill 99.
Second.
With correction.
Previous roll.
With corrections.
Yep. There's been a motion for engrossment of Board Bill 99 with corrections. There's a second. There's a call for previous roll. Any objections to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 99 is engrossed. The next board bill we have is by, I think we're going to vote no on all of this one. This is Board Bill 101, introduced by Alderman Joseph Vaccaro. He told me he was not voting for it. It's an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission on September 2nd, 2020, to change the zoning of property as indicated on the district map from a single-family dwelling district to F Neighborhood Commercial District in City Block 4669 at 6839 Filer Avenue.
What do I owe you? It looks awesome. Thanks so much. What?
Okay, I know Alderwoman Green, you're gonna say the same thing. Alderwoman
Yes, I
Green, what is
am.
your problem?
The section heading is wrong again. So, for section 2. You can tell
Okay.
these bills were drafted back to back. All of the same paragraph.
Right. Madam Clerk, do you,
Yes, ma'am, I'm
Madam
following,
Clerk,
I'm following along. Yes, ma'am.
okay, any other problems, Alderwoman Green?
That's it.
Alderman Vaccaro, are you still with us, or did you have to step away?
No, I'm here. I don't I don't see any problems. But you
You
know,
don't, I think we,
you know
I
what?
think we
though?
spelled Vaccaro wrong, didn't we?
You probably did. You know what's funny? The first time a bill would come through a committee, and you'll remember this, and some of the younger or older guys, and guys that haven't been around a while, we used to all vote no and put somebody on the spot and then go back saying, hey, I voted on the prevailing side. But
Correct.
we don't get to get together. I wish we can get together. It'd be more fun.
We also
I
used
don't
to
have-
clap on
I
the
don't
first
have-
board bill that anybody passed. Everybody would give them a standing ovation when I was younger and
Yeah,
new.
they voted down and then you'd be on the
Right.
floor going, well, then they would, anyway, but I don't see a problem. Thank you.
I still think Vaccaro is spelled wrong, but we're gonna just leave it like that, okay?
Well, hope it's not.
Alderman Todd, do you have any problems with Board Bill 101?
I know I don't have any problems.
Alderwoman Evans, do you have any problems with Board Bill 101?
No problems.
Alderman Grass, do you have any problems with Board Bill 101?
Just the spelling his last name. Other than that, I have no problems.
See there's two people that don't think your name is spelled right, but we're gonna leave it there.
Yeah, I would think they should have it right. I mean, you have to beat them up.
We're just giving you a hard time. Okay.
I
Here are
need a
no
hard-
problems with Board Bill 101. I'd entertain a motion that we engross Board Bill 101 with the suggestions made by Alderwoman Green.
I would make the motion that we engross Board Bill 101.
Second,
Previous roll,
There's a motion that we engross Board Bill 101 with the correction made by Alderwoman Green. There's been a second. There's a call for previous roll. Any objections to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 101 with the corrections is engrossed. Board Bill 102 is a board bill introduced by Alderman Joseph Brody, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission on September 2nd, 2020, to change the zoning of property as indicated on the district map from the J Industrial District to the H Area Commercial District in City Block 3904 at 235-39 South Boyle Avenue and 4317-4 through 4347 Duncan Avenue. I do want to say that the newer committee members don't know this, but originally when we started this out, they would have all of these zoning bills incorrect, and we actually had to bring Del Rousset and Mr. Wilson over here and kind of show them because they wouldn't have the attachments and things like that. So they are a lot better than when we used to get them, even if they still have small errors. We used to have actual pages missing. It would have a listing of things that were attached and they would not be there. And it would be all different kind of configurations. One bill might be missing Appendix A, another one would be missing Appendix F. And so you never knew. And only after we brought them over and they saw just how many things were not correct did we start getting a lot better board bills. And that's due to one of the eagle eyes of the Alderwoman from the 15th. So, Alderwoman from the 15th, what problems do you have with Board Bill 102?
Just the same
If any.
section heading issue. So, other than that,
Are you following, Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other problems, Alderwoman Green?
Hang on
That's
one
it.
second, I gotta vote.
Okay, Alderman Vaccaro, any problems
I
with
am.
Board Bill 102?
I have no problem with Board Bill 102.
Alderman Todd, any problems with Board Bill 102?
No, I don't have any problems.
Alderwoman Evans, any problems with Board Bill 102?
No problems.
Alderman Grass, now that
No
your lawn is
problems.
beautifully manicured, but, okay, you got a beautifully manicured lawn, so I know you're feeling good, so you have no other problems with Board Bill 102,
None.
okay? All right, now that we have no problems except for the corrections that Alderwoman Green suggested, I'd entertain a motion that Board Bill 102 be engrossed with the corrections.
So moved.
Second.
Previous roll.
Okay, we have a motion that Board Bill 102 with the suggested corrections by Alderwoman Green. And we have a second, and then we have a call for previous roll. Any objections to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 102 is
Yeah, I'm
engrossed.
coming. Madam
Okay.
Chair, I am gonna have to step out, but I will leave my computer on where I can hear it. But they're delivering that stuff now.
Okay, I hope everything's all right, and we're gonna continue with previous roll, okay?
Yes, please.
Thank you. The next board bill is Board Bill 103, introduced by Alderwoman Kara Spencer, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission on September 2nd, 2020 to change the zoning of property as indicated on the district map and in City Block 1648 from B, two-family dwelling district to D, multiple family dwelling district at 3600 and 3620 Texas Avenue. Alderwoman Green? Any problems?
Just same section 2 heading issue.
Okay. You didn't catch the gap on page, what is that? There's also a gap on
Where?
page 2, line 17, feet wide, then it's a big gap starting, thence along said alley should be pulled up.
Is it because above, hold on. Because of, there's a colon. Or wait, feet. No, it's a
See, the
semicolon.
colon is up as
Yeah.
described as follows. Now that's a semicolon on line 17.
Yeah, you're correct. With the semicolon, it should be brought up.
Right. Are you following, Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we have two changes. The page 2 to be spelled out and to take the gap out of line 17.
Got both of them.
All right, thank you. Any other problems, Alderwoman Green?
That's it.
Alderman McCall is gone. Alderman Todd, any problems?
No, Madam Chair, I don't see any problems.
Alderwoman Evans, any problems?
No problems.
Alderman Grass, any problems?
No problems.
Hearing no problems, I'd entertain a motion that Board Bill 103, introduced by Alderwoman Kara Spencer, with the suggested changes made by Alderwoman Green and I, be engrossed.
So moved.
We need
Second.
a second.
Second,
Previous roll.
We have a motion for engrossment, a second, and a call for previous roll. Any objection to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 103 is engrossed with the aforementioned changes. Board Bill 104, introduced by Alderman Joseph Brody, is an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission on September 2nd, 2020 to change the zoning of property as indicated on the district map and in City Block 3983 from the NG2 Neighborhood General Type 2, NG3 Neighborhood General Type 3, and B2 Boulevard Type to the B2. I don't know what else because it cuts off here. Let me see if there's something else that I'm missing with the description. To the B2 Boulevard Type 2 only in the Forest Park Southeast Foreign Base District at 1400 Tower Grove Avenue and 4238 and 4250 through 54 Vista Avenue, including a legal description of land in City Block 3983 and containing an emergency clause. I'll give you a few moments to look at it. Alderwoman Green, any problems with Board Bill 104?
No, looks good to me.
They actually have them all spelled out, all of these sections. Alderman Vaccaro, are you still gone?
No, I mean,
Okay.
I'll be back and forth, but I have no problem with this.
Okay. Alderman Todd, any problems with Board Bill 104?
No, I don't have any problems.
Alderwoman Evans, any problems with Board Bill 104?
no, no problem.
Alderman Grass, any problems with Board Bill 104?
No problems.
Hearing no problems, I'd entertain a motion that Board Bill 104 be engrossed.
I'll make a motion, we engross Board Bill 104.
Second,
Previous roll.
We have a motion to engross Board Bill 104, a second. We have a call for previous roll. Any objections to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 104 is engrossed. We have two more board bills. The next one is Board Bill 123. I also think that they don't spell this person's name right. It's by Alderman Jesse Todd. It's a proposed board bill with permanently closed barricade or otherwise impede the flow of traffic on Maple Avenue by blocking said traffic flow at the east curb line of North Kings Highway Boulevard at the intersection of Maple Avenue and North Kings Highway Boulevard.
Looks good to me.
Okay. Alderwoman Green says she has no problems. What about you, Alderman Vaccaro? Any problems with Board Bill
No, I have no problem with that.
123? Alderman Todd, any problems with this person who's carrying the board bill or the bill itself?
No, I don't have any problem. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Alderwoman Evans, any problems with Board Bill 123?
no problems.
Alderman Grass, any problems with Board Bill 123?
No problems.
Okay, hearing no problems, I entertain a motion that we engross Board Bill 123.
I'll make a motion that we engross Board Bill 103.
Second,
123.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said 123.
123.
Okay, I would make a motion, corrected motion that we adopt or engross Board Bill 123.
Second,
Previous roll.
We have a motion for engrossment, a second, and a call for previous roll. Any objections to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 123 is engrossed. And our last board bill is also by the same sponsor, Alderman Todd. The proposed bill will prohibit commercial vehicles from traveling along City Banks Avenue from the eastern boundary of North Newstead Avenue to the eastern boundary of Pendleton Avenue. The definition of commercial vehicle excludes pickup trucks, emergency vehicles, including privately owned tow trucks, when providing emergency service to non-commercial vehicles. Vehicles making deliveries to nearby addresses, and vehicles with a gross weight of 10,000 pounds or less. Alderwoman Green, any objections for Board Bill 124? Any problems?
No, it looks good to me.
Alderman McCall, any problems with Board Bill 124?
No, it looks good to me also.
Alderman Todd, this is your last chance to stop this alderperson from passing board bills. Any problems with Board Bill 124?
No, I don't have any problem. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Alderwoman Evans, any problems with Board Bill 124?
no problems.
Alderman Grass, any problems with Board Bill 124?
No problems.
Okay, hearing no problems, I'd entertain a motion that Board Bill 124 be engrossed.
I'll make a motion, we engross Board Bill 124.
Second,
Previous roll.
I have a motion that Board Bill 124 be engrossed. There's a second, a call for previous roll. Any objections to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 124 is engrossed. Let's see here. Alderman Muhammad, is he here?
He is.
Yes, I am, Madam Chair.
Okay, I don't see you here. I'm trying to find you. Why don't you all show the sponsor of this?
I think I have to talk
Okay.
for my video to pop up.
Let's see. Let's see. Okay, now I see you. All right. Okay, so the next thing we have is resolution number 61, introduced by Alderman Collins Muhammad, President Lewis Reed, Alderman Jeffrey Boyd, Alderwoman Marlene Davis, Alderwoman Tamika Hubbard, Alderwoman Lisa Middlebrook, Alderwoman Gwendolyn Evans, Alderman Brandon Bosley, Alderwoman Pamela Boyd, Alderwoman Shameen Clark Hubbard, Alderman Jesse Todd, Alderwoman Carol Howard, Alderman Joseph Caro. And resolution number 61 urges residents to vote no on Proposition D. Just to take care of a little business here, there is I had been asked if we could have public testimony, which I agreed to. There is some business about doing public hearings. So I want to read the procedure of what happened so everybody will be on the same page. Since this is a webinar, it's a little different. What happens is the speakers will be called in the order they appear on the list, which has been provided to me by the clerk, and it's in the same order in which they registered to speak. Each speaker is given 3 minutes to speak. Each speaker will be called by name when it's their time to speak by myself, the chair. Each speaker may speak on the topic of the hearing and related issue. A speaker will be given the 1 minute mark when they have reached that point. Each speaker will be told when their time is up. Once their time is up, a speaker is to stop talking unless the chair gives them additional time. Any participant may leave written comments by sending them to the clerk of the Board of Aldermen, Mr. Terry Kennedy, at kennedyT@stlouis-mo.gov, or by calling 314-589-6845. To give you that email address again is kennedyt@stlouis-mo.gov, or by calling 314-589-6845 to make arrangements. And that's if you want to leave written comments. in addition to the time that you spoke, or if there's anybody out there who wants to submit written comments. The sponsor of the bill is Alderman John Collins Muhammad, the primary sponsor. Alderman Muhammad, I'd ask to give you the floor and give you time to present your resolution.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee for your time. I will not be long. I think we all know exactly what Proposition D is. It is on the November ballot in my community, and voters in our city are greatly concerned about this initiative. First, this initiative was done and produced in the dark. There was no real education to the community on it. It is a flawed piece of legislation in an initiative, and it is an attempt to circumvent democracy. And I have said this before, Proposition D does not fix election problems. It heightens election problems. It maneuvers the democratic process, and it manipulates the numbers and voters. There is only one city in the United States that conducts voting this way, and that is Fargo in North Dakota, which has roughly 100,000 residents. I have spoke to the mayor and 6 commissioners in Fargo, North Dakota, and they all agree that Proposition D, or approval voting, is absolutely wrong for voters and is wrong for the Democratic electorate. And Fargo right now is in the process of repealing approval voting after only doing it for one election cycle. This is being pushed by the Center for Election Science, which is based out of California. Although their executive board lives in different cities, but even in the cities where these executive board members live, they don't even vote this way. So they're trying to use the city of St. Louis as a test tube and as a guinea pig for their own pet project. And that is not fair to voters. And Madam Chair, even in Fargo, North Dakota, when voters approved approval voting, not knowing the impact, they did not practice or put in place approval voting for the next election cycle, which is 6 months away. They didn't do it for 2 years because they wanted to make sure that they properly educate the community on what this is. What's going on right now in the city of St. Louis, they're trying to push Proposition D, put it on the March ballot, and they think that this is going to create a higher turnout. And I don't see how that is any way possible. And I have argued this up and down. I've asked for direct answers. How will Proposition D increase turnout? No one can tell me. So the reason for Proposition D that their proponents and supporters are saying, they have no real evidence or no real results or no real data to prove that this will fix elections, raise voter turnout, or it will create a more equitable system. With that, Madam Chair, I would ask the committee for its unanimous consent on resolution number 61. And I would, if I have your permission, Madam Chair, I would like to yield my time to the Madam Comptroller of the City of St. Louis, the Honorable Darlene Gray.
Since you don't have to yield any time to her because she is signed up to be a speaker, and elected officials always can speak in my committee. I don't speak up for other committees, but elected officials, so she is the first speaker. So before we do that, I want to ask the committee, going in order of my vice chair and then seniority, if you have any questions, Alderwoman Green, for the sponsor of this resolution, or would you like to wait until after we hear the speakers?
I think I'll wait for now. I do want to let you know that at 11:30, I'm going to have to switch over to another meeting, but I will be back.
Okay. What about you, Alderman Bacall? Do you have any questions for the sponsor, or would you like to wait to hear speakers?
I can wait to hear speakers. I'm a co-sponsor, and I think that article in the Post says a lot about this if you get a chance to read that article in the Post.
I could have written it. I did. Alderman Todd, do you have any questions for the sponsor at this time, or would you like to hear the speakers?
No, I don't have any questions.
Engage maybe in.
Alderwoman Evans, do you have any questions for the sponsor of the resolution, or would you like to wait and hear the speakers?
I would like to wait and hear the speakers.
Alderman Grass, what about you?
I'll wait to hear the speakers.
Okay, well, our first speaker is a person that really doesn't need to be introduced, but I will. Been my friend for a lot of years, 40 plus years. She is the Comptroller of the City of St. Louis, Darlene Green.
Good
morning.
morning, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for listening this morning on this call. Well, I'm on the call on the Zoom meeting. And I'm very grateful to be able to speak on behalf of this resolution. I am going to be speaking in favor of the resolution, which is to ask voters to vote no on Prop D. And I'll give you my reason. I believe Prop D, with all due respect, try to achieve a better way for elections to occur in the city of St. Louis, but it fails because it has a lot of flaws. The first flaw I want to point out is that it is to be implemented immediately after the November vote, this November 3rd vote, with a new way of voting for municipal elected officials, and it doesn't really give time for the voters or the elected officials who are going to be on the ballot to get, or who want to be on the ballot, I should say, to get acquainted with this new way of voting. So I think it's rushed. It should have been some time given in the referendum that would allow the voters to know that this would be coming perhaps to the following year's election instead of within less than 5 months away. So that's a huge flaw because it's rushed. It avoids the opportunity for better educating the voters and the community. And I just wanted to say that anytime you bring such a huge change to a community, you should allow a very ample amount of time for educating the community. Okay, the second huge flaw is that it's called approval voting, and it is a form of approval voting. Approval voting has only been passed in only one other city, and that's Fargo, North Dakota. No other city has passed it. If it passes in St. Louis, will be the second city. But this is being advertised as being passed or used in over 80% of the cities in the country, and that is not correct. What is true is that ranked choice voting is used in over 80%, and I don't know if that 80% is correct or not, but it is used more often in other cities. So I wanted to make that clear, as well as the reason why I would say that the voters should vote no. But even more important than those things I just pointed out, I find that it will establish an unfair system of voting because this new way of voting does not include all citywide elected officials. In the city of St. Louis, we have citywide county and citywide municipal elected officials, and this new way of voting unfairly only selects the citywide municipal elected officials and does not give the county elected officials the same new way of voting, which is an unfair system. So in a rush to go to a more fair system, actually you've gone to an unfair system. This is totally unfair to the citizenry, that we would have elected officials that are chosen differently for the county offices and then chose differently for the municipal offices. So that is a huge flaw. And then we are a city and a county, just like San Francisco. San Francisco has ranked choice voting. They have had it since 2004. They include all citywide elections, which includes their county and the municipal. And so there is a system that includes both. So there should not be an argument put forth by anybody that supports this that it's impossible. It was just not researched well enough to make this the best that can be presented to the voters. So this is a rush job. We have not presented the best that we could do in terms of reform our voting in our elections for citywide elected officials. We've not done that. And the last thing I'll say is that in San Francisco, up to 10 candidates can file because you have this choice. And in this particular Prop D, there's no limits to who can file. As also, there's no limits as to the number of people that can be selected. As a matter of fact, you will find that the ballot language is going to read that you can choose as many, which means that if there's 30 people that file for alderman, comptroller, or mayor, or president of the board, then you can select when you get to the ballot those 30 people, and you're not ranking them, you're just selecting. In ranked choice voting, you're actually putting, in other cities which have ranked choice voting, you're actually putting first choice number 1, second choice number 2, third choice, and so forth. In these ballot that we will have in, if this passes in the spring, we will just be voting, just check marking whoever we want. And it's more like a popularity as opposed to selecting who we believe would serve the city well, because we're not able to put 1 or 2 or 3 to rank how we believe they would serve. So I think that because of all of the flaws that will be part of this new way of voting, I would suggest that all the people, that the community would vote no until the city of St. Louis and those who want to look at a new way of voting can get it right. Prop D fails to provide a new way of voting that is that provides equity, that provides the citizenry with a voice. All this does is set up a flawed system that establishes inequities with regard to all of the citywide elected officials. It is not fair to have two separate systems, one system voting one way, which is a partisan, and another way for municipals to be nonpartisan. And that's what the voters are being asked to vote on when they select Prop D. But the advertisement of Prop D is that it's a fair way and it's an equitable way, and quite the opposite is actually true because of all the flaws. Thank you. Those are my comments.
All right. Thank you, Madam Comptroller. Because I know you have to go, Alderwoman Green. Do you have any questions for the Comptroller at this time?
I did just have a couple of questions. Are you aware if we have the authority at the local level to change the election system for those county offices, or is that something that would have to be done under state law?
According to the Prop D, the actual change only affects the municipal offices. And so then you bring up a good question, because the other flaw in this is that lawsuits most likely will be filed in the spring if this is passed, because it is so flawed. This is not a true approval voting method, and it's not a true ranked choice voting method. And with that in mind, then people who are voting can't offer a lawsuit to challenge what they were advertised and what they believe that they were voting for.
I guess what I'm getting at is I think that the reason that Prop D doesn't include county offices is because we lack the authority to do that at a local level. And it would actually take a change in state law to require county offices to also have an approval voting system. And
So
and
then
I
what
don't
you're
think
saying,
I don't think that decision was made to create a two-tiered system. It's more about who has authority to do what. And under state law, we have local municipalities have local control over our own elections. But because we have county offices, those county offices are under state control when it comes to elections.
but do you understand that you have asked the voters to set up a two-tier system once they would approve Prop D? You must understand that that would be the actual occurrence and a new way that we would be establishing our voting system. It would be a two-tier system. You must understand that would be the true fact.
Do we elect our county offices on the same ballot as our city offices?
Well, you do know that you don't, because you know you've been in the system, a city long enough to know that we just will have the county offices in the general election this November 3rd. You do know that.
I do.
So the question you asked, you already know the answer to, and you also know that the level playing field that is provided to voters now, as well as to those who wish to run for office, will no longer be the case for municipal versus county offices.
But we're not
So
asking
I'm not questioning the control and who controls, whether it's the state or whether the city controls the election system. I'm offering a true fact that there would no longer be a level playing field for those who run for county office and the ones who run for municipal office. Those are true facts that I'm stating, and unless you want to refute those, then I think you're trying to confuse the issue by asking questions about who is in charge of the election.
But on the same ballot, we would not be asking people to vote under two different election systems. That's what I'm trying to get at, because county offices and city offices are on different ballots. So we're not asking people to vote under approval for some offices and not under approval for others that are on the same ballot.
And with all due respect, Alderwoman Green, you're trying to confuse the issue, because the fact of the matter is there would be two different elections for the different citywide elected officials. All county office holders are citywide elected. All municipal office holders are citywide elected, those who are elected officials. Of course, you do have some that are appointed. In the city of St. Louis, we are a city and a county. In the city of San Francisco, it is the same. They recognized that there was a city and a county elected official that run citywide, and when they were going to change their election, they had to change it so that there would be a level playing field for all those who wish to seek elected office. That is plain, that is clear, and what I am saying on behalf of the citizenry in the city of St. Louis, we are not implementing an election system for citywide elected officials, whether they are city or county, that is a level playing field. We are not implementing ranked choice voting. We are not implementing a voting system where the citizens can vote nonpartisan for all citywide electors. We have fallen short of doing that with Prop D. Therefore, I do not support Prop D because it establishes an unfair system of voting for the citywide elected officials, and those who choose to support nonpartisan should have it for all citywide electors, not just some.
So if we pursued state law that changed the county offices to the same thing that is being proposed for the local offices, that is something that you would support. The difference is that county and city are being held to different standards, although we don't have the authority to change county at a local level.
Ordinances are what you that's an ordinance change is what Prop D chooses to amend. You're amending an ordinance in order to affect municipal elected offices only.
Right, because we don't have the
And so-
authority to change it for county offices.
And so you believe that the lack of authority then gives you the right to cause a playing field of all citywide elected officials to be unlevel and unfair, and that the presentation of such to the citizenry and the voting public would be okay, so that the voting public, each voting cycle would have to decipher which way are they voting now. Coming off of a huge election this November 3rd, and then focusing their attention on a municipal election that gives them a whole new set of rules, in my view, is totally unfair. It is not a well thought out process that has been presented. And for the lack of you having taken the time to seek out the method of ranked choice voting, that is a more fair system, that is a more widely used system throughout the U.S., that to me it has fallen short of your efforts. So to say that this is better, it is incorrect in my view.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I am going to have to jump off to another meeting, but I did just want to say one other thing. I think the 80% figure isn't that 80% of cities use approval voting, it's that 80% of cities have nonpartisan elections, and that is a true statement. So, but that's all of my questions.
Can I ask a question of you, Alderwoman Green, before you leave? So when they talk about nonpartisan election, 80% have nonpartisan elections. Are they talking about all their elections or just some of their elections? Like we have nonpartisan school board.
Yeah, for municipal elections. So like Kansas City
Okay.
has nonpartisan elections. You don't run on a Democratic or Republican ticket.
Okay.
That's typical
All right.
for municipalities.
Okay, and I want to suggest one other thing, excuse me, but the conversation you two had is that you always can do legislation that says if you want to make it level is to say that this does not go into effect until we do X, Y, Z, which would be until we change the state law so that all citywides would be running during the same process. So you could have also delayed that inaction, delayed the beginning of the ordinance until you also got the state law changed so that it affected everybody, because that would have gotten rid of some of the inconsistency that we have. Also, I want to say that I believe that it could have been attacked at the state level at the same time as the city. It's just a bigger process, but it could have been done that way. So just to interject my thoughts as I'm listening to this, that no, we cannot use an ordinance to change law, but we did not have to enact the ordinance right after it got passed while it was still not being done on the level for the county offices. And I know you have to go, and you're going to come back?
Yeah, I'll come back. I shouldn't be more than a half hour.
Okay. I'm sorry, Madam Comptroller, do you have something else you need to say?
Well, I did have a follow-up, and it partly was what you just said regarding that it could have been delayed until such time as that we did have the other part of the state situation taken care of, so that it would include the county offices. But I also want to say that what we should be looking at a lot of times is how to save money when it comes to elections. And in this particular case, and I get back to the San Francisco elections, where if in fact you have this nonpartisan and then you have this ranked choice, well, if there was a candidate that got the majority vote, which is over 50%, then you would not necessarily have to have a second election for that candidate, because there would be there was written in their legislation to elect the one that had a majority as defined by what we all understand to be 51%. So the 51%, someone achieved 51%, there would not be a runoff. But in our Prop D, it doesn't offer that. And so therefore you don't save any money. You'd be forced to go ahead and still have a vote, even though the candidate had already achieved the majority vote by, way of what the voters wanted. So that's an important observation, and it's also an important flaw that's in this particular prop.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to Alderman Carl. Do you have any questions for the comptroller?
No, I agree 100% that this is, first off, when you got to pay $4 a person to get signatures and the money comes out of California instead of locally, I have an issue with that. I have an issue with, again, if someone gets 99% of the vote and one other person gets 1%, you still have to have a runoff, which makes no sense. There's no savings in this. It's deceptive. The wording that, 80%. Well, I didn't say 80% do this. I said 80% have something like this. But in reality, only one place has something similar to this. So, it's all, misleading words, dark money, it's a mess. And I absolutely agree with what the comptroller said. And, so anyway, I'll have to step away again, but okay.
Alderman Todd, any questions for the comptroller?
No, I don't have any questions.
Alderwoman Evans, any questions for the comptroller?
No, I have no questions.
Alderman Grass, any questions for the comptroller?
No, I don't have any questions for the comptroller. Thank you.
Okay. So Madam Comptroller, you're welcome to stay. And if you have questions of other speakers, as an elected official, I will allow that. Or if you have someplace else to go, we appreciate you coming to testify. I think you brought a important point of view for someone who's been in office how many years now?
This year, March 25.
All righty. Okay. All right. Thank you. So the next speaker we have is Joanne.
Madam Chair.
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Do you have questions for the comptroller, sponsor?
I don't, Madam Chair, but I do have a clarification from the Vice Chair to a point that the comptroller had made in the Alderman from 23rd Ward in regards to nonpartisan elections. It is true that municipalities throughout the United States does practice nonpartisan elections, but it is also true that the counties in which these municipalities sit, they do practice partisan elections. So Kansas City does have nonpartisan elections, but Jackson County has partisan elections. In Fargo, North Dakota, which is in Cass County, it has partisan elections. In San Francisco, that I keep hearing, which sits in San Francisco County, it does have partisan elections. And I think that it is unfair and misleading to say that cities practice nonpartisan, but counties do not. And if we are going off of the Missouri Revised Statutes, as the Vice Chairwoman of the committee said, then let's go off Missouri Revised Statutes. The City of St. Louis, the proper and official name is the County of the City of St. Louis. So if we want to recognize the City of St. Louis as a municipality, as it should be, we must recognize it as a county as well. And if we are trying to follow a national trend, counties in the United States practice partisan elections. I just want to make that clarification and known, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you for allowing me to do so.
Okay. All right, we're going to move right along to the first citizen signed up to speak. As I see her, Ms. Joanne Hubbard, who is a member of the League of Women Voters. Good morning. Are we still in morning? Yes. How are you this morning?
Hello to everyone. Let me just say that I am here to speak in support of Proposition D. And I do that because I see it as a process that allows for everyone to participate as a candidate, as in a primary. But we also need a system, in my mind, we also need a system by which we have a runoff so that we have the opportunity to determine who has the most support in as a result of the election. Our most recent elections, we've had support from like 35%. And I'm thinking that we need more support so that we have more accountability in our communities for our candidates. And so it is for that reason. Let me just also back up and say that I'm a member of the League of Women. First of all, I'm a resident of the city, and I think most of you know me. But I am also a member of the League of Women Voters because I see it as an opportunity for us to do some things to make life better in the city. One of the things that I see that we need to do is to encourage greater participation. And so when the opportunity came up for Proposition D, I saw that as a way to have that happen, have a winner who would have broad accountability. And that means significant support so that we can get some better outcomes for our city. And so it is for that reason that I am supportive of Proposition D, and that I am asking the alderman to allow us to proceed with this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Our vice chair is gone. So I would like to ask if Alderman Vaccaro has any questions for Ms. Hubbard. Alderman Vaccaro, are you still here? Okay, we'll come back to him.
I'm still here, but
Do you have any?
no, I don't have any questions. I'm sorry.
Okay, Alderman Todd, any questions for Ms. Hubbard?
But we are marketing.
I don't have any questions.
Alderwoman Evans, any questions for Ms. Hubbard?
The access to piece.
No questions for Mrs. Hubbard.
Alderman Grass, any questions for Ms. Hubbard?
Okay.
No questions.
Okay, Ms. Hubbard, any final words? You had a few minutes left over. You were actually very concise, and I appreciate that. I'm never that.
My interest and my involvement in this whole process is to get as many people engaged in the process as possible. I see the opportunity for a primary and a general as increasing the opportunity for the engagement of all of us in the process. I think democracy is better if we are all engaged. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next person who is here to speak, signed up to speak, is Peter Kaplan, a resident of Tower Grove East neighborhood. Mr. Kaplan?
Yes,
I'm trying
thank
to
you.
see.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Okay, I see you now. I like to see people I'm speaking to. Good morning. Are we still in morning? Yep. Good morning. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity for us citizens to speak.
Tower Grove East is a great place to live. I used to live in Tower Grove for 8 years, so it's a great place. I lived one block from the garden and 1 block from the park.
It's a beautiful place. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else in St. Louis. It's perfect. I want it to be even better. I want us to have even better governance, and that's why I'm speaking here in favor of property. So,
well, I don't want to cut you, so I'm going to start you and just right now because I wanted you to have all your full 3 minutes, okay? All right, go ahead.
So yeah, as the chair said, this is Peter Kaplan in Tower Grove East, Ward 15. You know, Proposition D is a voting reform that studies consistently show chooses the right winner. That's the winner representing the people's preference. It does it far more accurately and more often than the current broken system. Not by favoring special interests, not by unfairly favoring challengers, but by providing, finally, a sound election system for St. Louis and St. Louisans. Now, I've lived in other cities that have nonpartisan primaries and runoff general elections. I've seen how all the voters feel engaged in elections when they know their vote matters because it's a nonpartisan primary. I've seen how candidates reach out to everyone and honor everyone's needs because everyone's votes are going to hit them in the primary. Okay, so it's not like these provisions we're putting in Prop D that we're voting on are untested. In fact, I wanted to speak to that point. There was sort of, I think, an implication when we say this is rushed. It sounds like this is a system that's never been used before and never been thought through. This is a system that is used for the internal elections of the Mathematical Association of America, the Institute of Management Sciences, the American Statistical Association. These are folks who have studied a lot about how elections work and how these things need to go. And they know that this is the best thing. That's why they're using them. I also wanted to respond to some other points that this is a bunch of California operatives and dark money. Let's take a look at the folks on the call. These are St. Louisans giving of their time to volunteer because they know it's the right thing, because they've looked at it. And we're going to get the chance to hear from a lot of them today. So let's remember this is not a bunch of dark money. This is St. Louisans making this happen because we know it's the right thing to do. I also wanted to respond to Alderman Collins's statement that Fargo is trying to repeal this.
Madam Chair, my name is Alderman Collins Muhammad.
Okay, Alderman, and I was going to correct him, so thank you. Please call him by his full name, Collins Muhammad.
I apologize for that. Alderman Collins Muhammad,
No problem.
It was cut off on my screen. Alderman Collins Muhammad's comment that Fargo was trying to repeal, but if we look at the facts, and this was a poll conducted, a supermajority of Fargo citizens still support approval voting. So maybe the politicians are against it, but the people still support it. So let me just close by saying, I know it's going to be tougher as a politician when you have to run in both the primary competitively and in the general election competitively. I hear you. I hate raising money for politicians, for candidates. It's my least favorite thing to do, and I don't blame you. But that is only what you should ever have been called to do, just as candidates do in 80% of major cities in this country, just as the system was always designed to have you do. So that can be your duty in the service of the citizens of St. Louis. I want to see the best candidates elected, and that's why I urge you to vote no on engrossing Resolution 61 to the full Board of Alders. Thank you for your time.
Okay, Alderman McCall just stepped away. Alderman Todd, you have any questions for Mr. Kaplan?
No, Madam Chair, I don't have any questions.
Alderwoman Evans, you have any questions for Mr. Kaplan?
No, no questions.
Alderman Grass, you have any questions for Mr. Kaplan?
No, I don't.
The sponsor, Alderman Collins Muhammad, any questions for Mr. Kaplan? I think he stepped away. I see some other alder people out here, so not in any order, just where I see Alderman Dan Gunther is here. Do you have any questions for Mr. Kaplan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No questions.
Okay. If there are other alder people here, if I don't see you, I'm trying to scroll this, my screen to make sure that anybody that wants to have input can do so, but I don't see any other alder people at this time. If I missed you, it's not because I was trying to, it's just that I can't see you at this point. Okay, Mr. Kaplan, where'd you go? I was looking at you. Mr. Kaplan, so I have been here longer than everybody. I actually got elected in 1991. I have never not had a primary and a general election, except for this very maybe last time. I've always had candidates that run against me, and I always won. So much so that the politicians thought they should. The last time I won by 1,300 votes in 2000 and no, it was in 99. And then so in 2001, they racially gerrymandered me and tore my ward up because they couldn't beat me. And I stayed gone for 10 years and I came back. So I'm not scared of a primary or general. I in fact like them. I am a person, I used to be a trial lawyer, and I think bring it on. But I do not support Proposition D. So I want you to know it's not just because somebody is scared of an election, because I probably have more elections than everybody sitting here together, okay? I don't support it as, I have had to deal with racial gerrymandering since I came here in 1991. And one of the things that I don't like is I want people to say if they're a Democrat or Republican. Even though in St. Louis, many people who lived in southern parts of the city who really were Republicans said they were Democrats. I like to know. I like the partisan, so I want it. So that's my personal preference. But I don't know if you got a chance to read. There was an article in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch today by a civil rights attorney who says Proposition D in St. Louis flunks civil rights. One of the things I had said, I hadn't read his article, is that I had a problem with this approval voting where you could vote as many people as you want. So maybe I would only vote for one person and you like 5 people. So we would have unequal voting. So can you explain to me or allay my fears of why we should have unequal voting like that?
I appreciate the opportunity to respond. I think it's really important that we do not have anything like unequal voting. So people raise this specter of one person, one vote. That is just a constitutional principle that says we should all each get 2 vote, and we do. So that's off the table. That's not even a question. But what you raised was about, if I cast 5 approvals and you cast 2, have I voted unevenly with you? Have I gotten an unfair amount of voting information into the vote? But what we see with approval voting is that it does not matter whether I vote for more candidates than you. That does not end up changing the outcome of who gets the majority and who wins the election. That's a big difference between approval voting and something like ranked choice voting, where it actually does matter whether you rank 2 and I rank 5. It can end up deleting your vote. So I don't want any sort of system that does that. That's why I'm a fan of approval voting. It makes sure that if I vote for more people than you, it does not end up eliminating part of the information. It does not end up affecting the outcome of that election.
Okay, and so can you give me examples of where that has happened?
So in the approval voting election held by Farrell,
right, where it does not, because I'm not understanding, and we might have to have this. Sometimes I have conversations off of Zoom, so because it takes up too much time. So if you're voting for 5 people and I'm voting for 2, you're saying that balances out because other people will do it different ways. But is that what you're saying? Because I'm still saying that is unequal to me. That you voting for 5, even though I have the opportunity to vote for 5. That's giving your vote more weight because you and your friends can get together. 500 people or whatever, 1,000 people can say, we're all going to vote for these 5 people. Okay. I may not be working with the group. I vote for my 2 because I don't know any of the others. Because the other thing that I have a real problem with is that it lets anybody get in the race. We already have perpetual people that get in the race anyway for everything. And I know them personally. Okay. And they said to me, because you won't endorse me, I'm just going to run for everything. And they do. And so that's irritating to me, not because people don't have a right to vote, to run for office, because they know daggum well they don't even have a chance, and they're just doing it as a way to punish it. And they said to me, this is what a person said to me, well, I'm going to fix you for not endorsing me. So then I'm never going to endorse that person, okay? I'm never going to support that person. So to me, that we let anybody run, and there's no kind of criteria, and then that you could vote, you and your friends could all get together and vote for 5, 10, 15 people. And it's still a way to affect my vote. And maybe I don't have that sophistication. So that's why I very much don't like that part of the process. So if you can't explain it to me now, I would say I have your information. I would like the opportunity to call and speak to you about it. But if you can, I'd appreciate it.
I appreciate it, and I actually just saw a great example this morning as I was looking online for material for today, and now I can't find it again. That explains this very clearly, much more clearly than I can at the moment. But I will leave it to other commenters, other citizens who've come to speak today to explain the pieces of this that I've not managed to explain in 3 minutes, but I appreciate it.
Would you be open to a conversation afterwards?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. The next person that I have is Joshua Lawrence, and I'm looking for you.
Oh, thank you, Alderman Tyus. I'm right here. Can you all hear me?
Okay. Yes. How are you? Good morning.
Radical, thank you. Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, and yourself?
Good. So, yeah, thank you all for having me. My name is Joshua Lawrence. I live in Dutchtown, and I'm here to support Proposition D and ask you to reconsider this resolution. I support it for pretty much the reasons that we say, 80% of cities already do nonpartisan elections. A lot of candidates currently don't get 1/3 of the vote, but kind of coast by in the general because, we are 78% one party. However, I really think it's important to kind of dispel kind of the misinformation going on. First, the grant money, to my knowledge at least, STL approves, went to the Center for Election Science and requested the grant. This is important because it wasn't like some outsiders were like, we want to change St. Louis, we're going to make it a guinea pig. Instead, it was kind of, St. Louis activists going, okay, this is the change we want to see. Who is doing these things elsewhere, and how can we all kind of work together, right? They didn't have a giant Rolodex to just call up, big rich St. Louisans, and really just wanted to focus more on actually talking to the community and getting their support to put this on the ballot. And just speaking candidly, as somebody who has donated a lot of their own time, energy, resources to this effort while being a lifelong St. Louisan, it really kind of just sucks to hear all of my effort go, oh, well, this is just outsiders. I mean, big money is certainly a problem in all politics. We can talk about that all day. But to put the grant in a little bit of context, that poor privatization effort during the lead up to 2020, that was $715,000. The grant money in total that STL approves was about 1/4 of that. Second was the efforts that people keep going back about Dartmouth and Fargo. Dartmouth's example is flawed because they had approval voting, but didn't have a runoff. When Dartmouth actually repealed their approval voting process, they released a about 52-page report. And one of the main reasons they gave for repealing that effort was that there was no runoff option. Prop D fixes that. Second was Fargo. I'm actually was fortunate enough to talk to the activist who did the boots on the ground work to put that approval vote in place. And to their knowledge, there were no genuine efforts to repeal it. We'll always go back to the politicians that wanted it repealed. They weren't supporting it really in the first place. So I would just love to see a source on that. And lastly, Fargo too, they saw an increase in turnout. Their election, their first approval voting election, had about 5% growth in less than a year. 5% growth in a turnout in less than a year is extraordinary. And, we could say it was this, that, the other thing. But when I talk to people about it, the main reason given is that elections were more competitive, right? That's what drives out turnout, right? Like, why would I go to the polls if I know that I really like this candidate, but no one else is going to vote for them and they have no chance of winning, right?
And I want to let you know you're running out of time. I'm going to let you just extend a few minutes to finish what you're saying.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So
that's all right. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So like I said, so when elections are more competitive, turnout goes up. And lastly, I just want to say that, I'm not here. The Board of Aldermen should give Prop D a stamp of approval. I respect everyone's opinions and we disagree on, but frankly, the Board of Aldermen is directly affected by this proposition. It would make your elections harder. It would make ours to stay entrenched and everything. But I genuinely hope you all would just stand aside and let voters think for themselves on this issue, because, we don't let businesses kind of regulate themselves, right? So that's all I got, and I just thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Bacall, do you have any questions?
Oh, comment. And
A comment.
I have a little bit more of a minute. So you say you were deeply involved, but everybody I talked to that were getting the signatures were getting paid $4. And they told me they were getting paid $4. So a lot of money was spent. And I was listening to them, and what they were telling people they were signing was not the same thing they were signing. And I can tell you, you pay somebody $4 to go out and get a petition signed, just like the airport one where a bunch of aldermen signed on it and said, oh my God, I didn't know that I was signing it. The guy lied to me. It was on the back pages. So to simply say that the citizens said yes, the petition was bought and paid for. The majority of the people were lied to. You say, no, I was standing next to them at the polling places when they were gathering the signatures. You can't tell me that the guys, they told me they were getting paid $4 a signature. And I was listening to what they were saying. And when I was telling them, they're like, well, hey man, I'm just, it's just a job, man. And I'm not really supporting or whatever, but I get paid $4 a signature. So, it's just a job. So they lied. They told people whatever they thought they could say to get them to sign, because for every signature they collected, they got $4. So I'll tell you what, if I pay enough people enough money to go out and lie and tell people sign this, and again, I'll go back to the airport one that some of the more progressive other people signed, saying, well, that's not what I thought I signed. And, that 1 minute, hey man, can you sign my petition? Here's what it's for. You can make anything sound good. But when somebody invests that kind of money into this, then there's a big issue. And again, if I got all my friends with money and said, let's do this and get it out there and get signatures, people more tend to believe the guy that's coming up to sign them. So when you say that, you can't tell me that the people were not lied to and that the people were not paid. And if you can tell me that they weren't paid, then one of us is lying, and I can tell you it's not me. And I can tell you for a fact, standing next to those people, they were telling them whatever it took because they got paid $4 a signature. And when I said, hey man, you're not telling the truth, he's like, man, I'm just trying to support my family. I get paid $4 a signature. So I let it slide at the polls. But I can tell you, you worked hard on it. I don't know if you went out and collected signatures. Maybe you were paid. I don't know. But this thing was not written by anybody here that I'm aware of. This came from California money. It's poorly written. I know you're looking like, but who funded this whole thing? That money came out of California. I mean, again, I might just get a whole bunch of my buddies together and raise the age that you can be an alderman in the city to 65, saying you need more life experience, and get people to sign it going, this is just to assure that you have people with life experience. You can get people to sign anything. Because again, when you're paying somebody, the incentive for them is no matter what, get the signature. I get $4 for these signatures. And again, I'll go back to this younger, more progressive alderman, which I will admit I'm not, that signed the petition to do away with the airport. And then at the Board of Aldermen said, well, they lied to me. The guy was signing the petition, lied to me. I signed it because I thought I was signing something else. And, so you get asked to Kara Spencer and people that actually signed that petition. And at the Board of Aldermen meetings, sat back and said, well, I didn't think that's what I was signing. So I disagree when you say, oh, the people signed this. If you feed them enough crap, and you're getting paid, and these guys are professional salespeople, they're gonna sign it. So that's just my comment, and I'll let it go at that. But
Okay, wait a minute. Let me hold on. I'm going to give you only 1 minute to respond, and then I'm going to ask everybody. We got a long list of people, 20 people that want to speak, and we've only had 4, including the comptroller. So I'm going to ask the committee members if we could just keep it to a minimum, and I'm going to do that because unless I really hear something that offends me, I know how I'm going to vote, and I want to keep all the members here to be able to vote on this resolution. Okay, is that all right?
yeah, I'm gonna
Okay,
be,
yes, sir, Miss.
I'm gonna be stuck.
I'm sorry.
I have to be in Ways and Means at 1 o'clock.
Right, that's why we want to move along. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Mr. Lawrence, did you have a rebuttal?
Just a real quick one about what he's saying. So what you're talking about especially is problems with the ballot initiative process, right? If we want to talk about those kind of problems, we can do that. It's way bigger than what we're currently talking about today if we're talking about taking money out of politics. But that being said, when you are saying that, oh, this is an outsider initiative, again, that's taking away, frankly, my efforts, frankly, the efforts of everyone speaking in support of Prop D today. And it's really, again, just disheartening to anybody who wants to get involved when all you can go is just go, oh, it's an outsider effort. So again, I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Here's what
Okay, we're going to move on. The next person is Anne Marie S. Anne Marie?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Okay, I'm trying to find you though. Okay, all right. Good morning. How are you this morning? Barely.
morning.
We're almost at it's. We have 3 minutes left.
We are just barely morning still.
Correct.
Thank you so much for being available to hear me speak today. I am also in Tower Grove East, so lovely former neighborhood of yours. I'm Anne Marie. I am one of the funders, one of the local funders of Proposition D. I have donated both my money and many, many, many hours of my time. If I were doing this as a consulting project, it would have been a big bill, but it's not, because I'm doing this for free because I am a citizen of St. Louis and I want the community to be improved. And one of the ways we can improve our community together is by having our voices more directly heard in our elections. So I'm actually from St. Louis, but I lived in Chicago for many years. I explicitly chose to move back to St. Louis because I wanted to be in a community where my voice can have a bigger impact as an involved community member. In Chicago, giant place, felt really more like literally one in a million. But in St. Louis, I wanted to come to a community where my vote would matter, the things that I could do in a community, in my neighborhood would matter. So each of us having much more power in this community of ours. So one of the ways that I was excited to be involved is through local elections. But I've been really frustrated that in each local election that I've voted in so far, I haven't been able to actually vote how I wanted to. Within our current voting rules, I can only select one candidate, even if the primary has several candidates who I think would do a great job. So it's a blessing that we have sometimes elections where we have candidates where multiple people would do great. But I end up feeling like I have to make like a strategic choice, picking a candidate who I think would have a better chance of winning rather than who I actually prefer. So I feel like my vote is not actually directly connected to my preference because of our voting rules. So this makes voting for me feel like more of a guessing game, trying to figure out what the chances are of someone winning, rather than a way for me to honestly express my preferences and have them heard. And it's really frustrating that a voter under the current rules, basically your vote only matters in the primary. A Democratic candidate can be selected with far less than 50% of the support in a multi-candidate field, but then easily win in the general election, even though there are often challengers in the general election as well. But because our city is so heavily Democratic, often it's an easy win in the general. So we end up having some elected officials who don't have the majority of our community's support. This is not across the board a problem. There's certainly many elected officials who do have broad support of our community, but there's some that don't because they've been in tight races that have been split by multiple candidates. And then there's less of motivation to vote in the general election. If you're interested in local politics only, you know what the results are going to be. It's been decided already in the primary, so you don't need to show up for the general. So these are some of the frustrations that I had and some of the reasons that I support Prop D, and I'm here to speak against Resolution 61. So because Prop D will adjust local election rules for some offices, as a voter, I can express my true preferences. So choosing to vote for as many candidates as I think will do a good job, rather than doing that strategic voting of trying to figure out who I think other people might like also, and where's the best place for my vote to do the most good, but really guessing at it. And then since there's that top two primary candidates advancing to the runoff in the general election, there's a much stronger reason to vote in that general election. And we're guaranteed to end up with an elected official who has at least a majority of the voters' support. So I think that Prop D is an exciting step that we can take to adjust our local election rules so voters will be able to more honestly and more directly elect our leaders. And I wanted to mention also that having different rules for different types of offices is already something that we are used to as citizens in the United States. We know that there's a very different system for electing the president of the United States. It's not direct, it's through the Electoral College. Famously.
And I'm going to let you know that your time is up, so wrap your
Thank you very
comments up.
much. The last thing I would just say is that I think Resolution 61 is a conflict of interest in the board because it encourages voter to make a certain choice about a ballot initiative that directly impacts the election of the members of the board. I think it's an inappropriate use of the power of the board's public platform. There's already ways for individuals and groups to express their support or disagreement. Many of the alders have already used those channels. So I think for these reasons, Resolution 61 is both unnecessary and inappropriate. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Alderman Vaccaro, you have any comments or questions? Alderman Todd, any comments or questions of this speaker? Alderwoman Evans, any questions or I'm sorry, Alderman Todd, any comments or questions of this speaker? We can't hear you. Unmute.
I don't have any questions or comments.
Okay. Alderwoman Evans, any questions or comments?
No questions or comments.
Alderman Grass, any questions or comments?
No, not today. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you, Ms. Anne Marie. Okay, the next person we have is Tyler Schlickenmeyer. Am I saying that close?
Yeah,
Can you say your name, please?
It's Tyler Schlickenmeyer, yep.
All right, thank you. Good morning. I mean, good afternoon. You're the first afternoon speaker.
All right.
Go ahead.
Thank you for having me. My name's Tyler. I'm one of the co-founders of this campaign. It doesn't take a long look at recent events, even just this week, to see our democracy is at risk across all levels of government, all the way to the top, affecting all three branches. I came here to St. Louis City over 6 years ago at 22 years old to attend grad school at WashU for engineering. But I've considered St. Louis to be my home since I was a small kid. My dad was stationed at Scott. We'd ride the metro to the games and watch Pujols hit home runs. But after seeing the failure of recent municipal elections to provide a strong mandate for our city's new elected leadership, me and other activists in the city felt like something needed to be done, and so we founded the Prop D campaign. We can't afford politics as usual when the system isn't working for us. With upcoming ward reduction and amidst the global crisis, it's absolutely essential that we have more democratic mechanisms in place to elect our leaders. I'm proud of everything our coalition of hundreds of volunteers, staff, paid canvassers, partner organizations, and supporters have accomplished, becoming the first citizen-led initiative petition to actually make it on the municipal ballot in recent history, to my knowledge. I started this campaign hearing dozens and dozens of everyday people wondering how vote splitting is such a rampant issue in our elections and asking desperately what can be done about it. I started this campaign without serious fundraising experience. I don't have phone numbers of people I can call and ask for hundreds of dollars. I'm grateful for the grant money we've secured, which has allowed us to pay our petitioners a decent wage, focus on voters instead of donors, and turn our collective vision into a reality. I'm proud of what our effort has got done with our tight budget, keeping in mind that one corporation spent over $713,000 on their ballot initiative efforts to privatize our airport, which is nearly 4 times our budget in about 1/10 of the time. With regards to Prop D, let's not make perfect be the enemy of our attempt to do just a little bit better. Election science is far from a perfect science, and yes, we are trying something a little bit new. However, I believe our policy stands up to scrutiny and that the people will be responsive to change.
You have about 1 minute left.
Thank you. It's hard enough to run a successful initiative petition campaign from the grassroots. It's even harder when securing grant money needed to perform basic outreach is rebranded by our opponents as being a puppet to outside interests. Our hardworking volunteers deserve more than that. If the city doesn't pass Prop D, at least we know that that's what the people wanted. And if the city does pass Prop D, then we can all move into the spring elections with our best foot forward. And I hope we can get back to tackling the enormous problems we have at hand instead of getting caught up in power brokering and politics as usual. Please vote no on this resolution. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Alderman Mcclure, any comments or questions?
No, I'm gonna wait.
Alder,
for they ask.
okay. Okay, thank you. Alderman Todd, any comments or questions?
No, I don't have any comments or questions.
Alderwoman Evans, comments or questions?
No comments or questions.
Alderman Grass, any comments or questions?
No, not now. Thank you.
Okay. The next speaker, thank you so much, Mr. Slickenmeyer. The next person is Rhonda Jones. Are you here, Rhonda? Rhonda Jones.
I'm here.
Rhonda
I'm sorry.
Jones.
Yeah, I'm going to yield my time to Kathleen Farrell.
Okay, so you don't wish to speak at this time? Okay.
Not at this time.
Okay. The next person is Mary Hellwig, Hellwig.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Yes, I can.
I am going to speak very briefly. I am against the resolution on the table. I am in favor of Proposition D. I am like-minded with the other people who have spoken on this issue, and I want to give one additional perspective. I will do it briefly. I have been a voter in St. Louis my whole adult life. I have been a volunteer in my Skinker de Bolivar neighborhood, going door to door on Proposition D. I have received no money on this. I think it is unseemly for our elected officials to cast aspersions on voters' efforts to change our system in favor of democracy. This new Proposition D would not circumvent democracy. It would make it more democratic by allowing a majority of voters to elect citywide officials. I want to give one example for myself on another issue. For years, my alderwoman was Lyda Cruson in my neighborhood, and I voted for her as alderwoman for every election. However, in the last mayoral primary, I voted for a Black candidate because I believe that we need to heal the racial divisions in our city. My candidate did not make it onto the final ballot because I had to vote for only one candidate in the Democratic primary. And here I would like to quote the St. Louis American, who is in favor of Proposition D. And I quote, "Black candidates are pitted against each other in a winner-take-all primary. Proposition D would make it possible for Black candidates to compete in citywide races without canceling each other out." I rest my case. I'm in favor of Proposition D. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Alderman Bacall, any questions?
Slight comment. I disagree with your statement.
Okay, a slight, because we're pressing the deadline.
Very slight, but the entire Black caucus of the Board of Aldermen opposes. And so to say that you speak for all the Black people in the city of St. Louis,
I never said that. I
Wait,
never said that.
We're not having a debate. We're not having a debate. He has the floor.
So
Thank you.
this does not make it, if the caucus thought this made it better for Black candidates, they may support it. But what they see is when it goes to 14 wards, we will be eliminating a lot of Black leaders. All this where Black lives matter, but Black leadership does not matter. This will make it harder for minorities to win when these wards get so big that it's put together. And Alderwoman Tyus, who says, and I believe her, that she was gerrymandered out. When we go to 14, you know, I'm just saying, when you say that, I just want to mention that the entire Black caucus, not one member voted against it. The entire Black caucus, they also put their own money together for signs. No money from out of state, out of town, New York, or California people. They bucked up their own money for signs. So this is not a black-white issue. If it is, then I would say we should be supporting this and we should be voting against this Prop D. Again, I support the caucus. And that's, you know.
Okay. Let's wrap it up so we don't lose, because our sponsor has to go to another meeting and so do you.
Okay, I'm off now.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Todd, any questions or concerns? Alderman Todd? Alderman Todd? Okay. Alderwoman Evans, any questions or concerns?
Not at this time.
Alderman Grass, any questions or concerns?
Not at this time.
Okay. Ms. Hellwig, you had a response. I'm going to give you a minute.
I would never insult people by saying I speak for the Black community. I am saying what I said as a white voter who chose to vote for a Black candidate in the primary to heal divisions in our community. And I quoted the St. Louis American. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Okay, the next person we have is Kelsey Johnson. Kelsey Johnson, are you here? Kelsey Johnson. Kelsey Johnson. Kelsey Johnson. Okay, if I don't, Kelsey Johnson. Okay. Okay, we're moving on to the next person. It says Mr. Henson, Hinson, Mr. Henson. Mr.
Good
Henson.
afternoon. Good afternoon. I don't have anything to add right now, but thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you. Okay, the next person we have is Mitch Eagles, Eagles, Mitch Eagles.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. I'm trying to look for your face,
My
though, Mitch.
camera is very dark for some reason. I have no idea why, but
I'm trying to see where you are even on here. I don't. Okay.
Do you see me now at all? I'm trying to wave.
Okay, I see. Yes, right. You need to turn on the light in your room.
It's the camera. The lights are on. I don't know why it does this.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mitch. You got 3 minutes. It's 12:14.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Alderwoman. I really appreciate the chance for the public to speak on this morning. I agree with all of the speakers so far. I would ask you all to vote against Resolution 61 and please to support Proposition D. I also have gotten out and talked to voters when we were collecting signatures. I didn't get any money. And everyone I talked to pretty much supported more democracy. And in the past, I was a real fan of ranked choice voting systems. I think that anything other than our first past the post, which we currently use, where you can get a third of the vote and skate by, is a problem. Ranked choice is a really appealing system. One problem, though, is that we would need new voting machines for that. And I really don't trust St. Louis City to get those machines quickly. I also don't think that, spending more money is always a problem. Whereas approval voting is something we can implement using machines we have right now. I think a lot of points have been made about how it is a more democratic system, but I want to speak as a member of a special interest group that the city entirely fails right now, which is public transportation users. We have very little say in these in the election of our mayor, our president of the board, our aldermen, because we're only about less than 10% of the voters. We have very little sway, and in fact, none of our electeds, in my opinion, do enough to ensure that we have adequate public transportation, something that is really, really necessary as we're inching towards climate collapse. So I'm excited about Proposition D because it gives groups like public transportation users who don't have a lot of say the chance to really lobby their candidates. Right now, I have to vote for the person that I think will most likely beat the person who is the worst for transit because I don't want them to win, and I don't want our bus system cut back more. I don't want our lines getting fewer and fewer buses and lower frequencies. But the truth is, the candidate who I want to see do that probably isn't going to get a lot of votes. But in that first round, I'm able to support both the candidate who is maybe more on the fringe, but says, hey, we need to have 4 times as many buses running. I can also give my vote to the candidate who I think it's probably likely will win, who likes buses, but doesn't really promise to expand them. And I can not vote for the one who says we want to get rid of all the buses. Then in the final general election, I get to actually decide between 2. And if that abolish the bus candidate is on there, I can vote against them.
You have 1 minute, a little less than 1 minute to wrap up.
Thank you. So I would just say, I think that this makes sure that our electeds are really listening to issues, even for voters who might be a minority of the voter share. So I will wrap up there. I really appreciate you all hearing us today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eagles. Alderman Vaccaro, any comment or question?
No, I'm going to try to wait because I truly have to. I want to make sure I vote, and I have to leave.
Okay, Alderman Todd, question or concern?
No, I do not have any questions or concerns.
Okay, Alderwoman Evans, question or concern?
Not at this time.
Alderman Grass, any question or concern?
I have none.
Mr. Sponsor, any question or concern?
I will wait, Madam Chair.
Okay, and Alderman Gunther, you popped up all of a sudden again. Do you have a question or concern?
I do not. Thanks, Mitch, though. Proud 9th Ward voter.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I do have to say, Mr. Eagle, you and I are going to have a conversation because I have been fighting for public transportation for a long time and been lied to by state. So I was one of the original people still here that voted on MetroLink with the promise that we were going to have a north-south distributor, but that's another conversation, okay?
I would love to talk about it. I really
Okay. Okay, so you may get a call from me. The next person we have is Katie Bells. Is Katie Bells here? Katie Bells.
Hi.
Good afternoon. How are you? It is now 12:19. You have 3 minutes.
I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you all so much for your time. And I love being able to see how this process works and to get to be part of the conversation with everyone who's so passionate. My name is Katie Bellis. I am a St. Louis City resident, just bought a house in Princeton Heights. So Alderwoman Grass, I'm in your community now, excited to work with you going forward. I'm also a member of the League of Women Voters and of the National Women's Political Caucus, but I'm speaking as a private citizen, not on behalf of those organizations. I'm going to be very brief. I just want to echo some of what has already been said in terms of I am someone who has been a grassroots contributor to the Prop D campaign. I'm very much in favor of it. I've already voted for it because I voted early. I spent a good amount of time writing postcards until couldn't feel my hand anymore. I've gone door to door giving literature to my neighbors and having conversations with folks on all my social media. And I very much believe that this reinforces our democracy. I think a lot of the issues that have been spoken of regarding money in particular speak to systematic issues overall with our interactions between money and politics at large and locally. Paying canvassers is business as usual for anything that you want to get on the ballot. Asking for grant money is also very standard. And I think at times preferable to getting money from private donors that are extremely wealthy and extremely biased. So I don't think that getting money that has been specifically requested by folks in St. Louis from another state necessarily speaks to bias coming from another state. I think paying canvassers a fair wage is important. If you're expecting people to do work, you should be paying them a fair wage to do work. And if we don't want to be paying people to be involved in the political process, then we need to do some reforms in that department. Yeah, I think that's all I'm going to speak to. Oh, and one more thing I wanted to mention was I've personally been aware of this campaign for over a year now. I first heard about it from folks working on it at a War Dems meeting in my old neighborhood. Shout out Dan Gunther, my older person. So this has been on my radar for quite a while now, and I've been doing research and reading about it. So I'm an honest question, not necessarily as a critique, but I'm wondering why we're having this conversation about the imperfections of Prop D now, less than a week before the election, when the information has been publicly available for quite a while. We have maybe all worked together to make what ended up on the ballot better so that it best serves all.
And I'm going to have to say, you have to wrap it up.
Okay, I will close with that. Again, thank you so much for allowing me to participate.
Thank you. Alderwoman Green is back. Any questions or concerns of Mrs. I'm sorry I said your name wrong. I said Bellis, right?
Yes, ma'am, that's quite all right.
Okay. Alderwoman Green?
No questions.
Okay. Alderman Mcclure, any questions or concerns?
No, but I'm glad that she's fine with big money influencing an election. She won't mind when big money gets involved.
That's a concern. Okay. Alderman Todd, any questions or concerns?
No, I don't have any questions or concerns.
Alderwoman Evans, any questions or concerns?
No questions or concerns.
Alderman Grass, any questions or concerns?
No questions or concerns.
All right. And so the sponsor said he doesn't want to speak. Okay. The next person we have is a Karen Mcclure. Karen Mcclure. Karen Mcclure.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, I'm looking for, okay, good afternoon. How are you? It is now 12:23 and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to yield my time to Kathleen Farrell with the League of Women Voters.
Okay. Yield the time. Okay, the next person we have is Rachel Parker. Rachel Parker. Rachel Parker. Rachel Parker. Okay. Rachel, if you're here, let us know. If you're muted, unmute. I didn't see you. So the next person we have is Kathleen Farrell. I think a couple of people have yielded their time. So I'm going to give you at least 6 minutes, maybe more. Ms. Farrell, how are you today? I can't hear you. You must be muted or something's going on with your mic. We can't hear you. We still can't hear you. Try unmuting your mic. Can anyone else hear her?
No.
We can't hear you.
I think the audio must not be set up right on her end.
I'm sorry, Ms. Farrell, we can't hear you at all. Ms. Farrell, we still can't hear you. Your audio is not working right on your mic. See if there's something you can do to reset. I'm going to go to the other people and then I'll try to come back to you. See if you can work on trying to get your audio to work, okay? All right, the next person we have is Mallory, R-U-S-C-H. Is that Rush?
It's Rush, Alderwoman.
Rush, okay. I hear you. Now I'm looking for your beautiful face, okay?
Me?
Okay, I see you now. Oh, so, and then all of a sudden you was gone. You're gone. Where did you go? I had you. I like to look at people when I'm talking to them. Where did you go?
Oh, I'm still here.
Oh.
You see me? You find me?
Oh, there you are now. They moved you to a different spot, or you got moved. Okay. It is now 12:26, so you have 3 minutes to 12:29.
Thank you. My name is Mallory Rush, and I am the campaign manager for Prop D. I am a lifelong city resident, diligent voter, and Bevo Mill homeowner. I'm not a political operative. I've worked my entire career in the nonprofit sector here in St. Louis City. I accepted this job because I care deeply about this city, and I believe Prop D will strengthen our local government. St. Louis is using an antiquated partisan voting system that has been discarded by 80% of cities nationwide. Switching to a nonpartisan primary with a top 2 runoff means that voters will have a real choice between 2 respected candidates in the general, rather than the winner of the Democratic primary, who's often elected with a slim plurality, running against a Republican with no chance of winning. In 2019, only 10% of voters showed up for the April election because they knew it was mostly meaningless. I ask you, is that a democratic process that we can be proud of? Alderman Collins Muhammad has falsely stated many times that Prop D will depress voter turnout. In fact, in October 2019, a majority of voters that we polled told us they were more likely to vote under the system created by Prop D, including 74% of Black voters and 64% of voters ages 18 to 35. It is our current system that depresses turnout because the majority of voters don't see their preferences in the voting booth reflected in our elected leaders. Under the new system, voters will be able to more fully express their views during the primary election and will return for the general election because there will be a meaningful choice to make. Approval voting is a necessary part of Prop D because it directly addresses vote splitting. Under the current system, candidates with similar platforms are at a great disadvantage because voters are forced to split hairs to choose between them. Voting methods like ranked choice voting and approval voting are being increasingly adopted because they are far superior systems for matching voter intent to the end results of the election. St. Louis voters want a system where the outcome matches their intentions, which is why in our most recent polling, 74% of city voters, including 80% of Black voters, supported Prop D. It's why we're supported by the St. Louis American, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, the Organization for Black Struggle, the Action St. Louis Power Project, amongst many other groups and individuals who back our proposition. Taking off my campaign manager hat, I will say that I find it incredibly disheartening that any of our city's elected officials would attempt to influence voters who are weighing a citizen-led initiative to reform our elections. In my mind, this is a misuse of power, a misuse of taxpayer-funded time, and appears to be a fairly transparent effort for some of our elected officials to protect their own political power. I would urge this committee to reject Resolution 61 and let voters make up their own minds about Prop D. I appreciate this committee's time.
Okay, thank you very much. Alderwoman Green, any questions or concerns?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Alderman Vaccaro, questions or concerns? Alderman Vaccaro, you may have stepped away. Alderman Todd, any questions or concerns?
I don't have any questions or concerns. Madam Chair, if I leave, will you still have a quorum?
I don't know if the call comes in or not. Do you have to leave?
I'm gonna have to leave soon. I have another meeting I have to go to.
Okay, well, we're trying to move this along. We're almost at the end right now. Alderwoman Evans, any questions or concerns?
No questions or concerns.
Alderman Grass, questions or concerns?
No questions or concerns.
Okay. Our next speaker is Paul Vandervoort. Paul?
Vandervoort, thank you. You had to get me right when I was eating, huh?
Yes, that's right. I didn't want you to eat because I'm not eating.
I know.
No, if you can't share it, nobody eats.
Alderwoman Tyus, is that how I say your name?
It is correct.
It is? Okay, good. I want to say I love you. If you had a radio show, I'd listen to it every day. Okay. I really,
thank you.
Seriously, hearing your concerns about this bill really make me want to learn more. So thank you for having this opportunity to talk. Okay. You know, I learned about this this opportunity to talk just yesterday, which isn't really a lot of time, and I don't think is really enough notice for a public discussion like this. I wish we had more time.
So let me stop you a little bit to say this, and I'm gonna give you your time. My vice chair asked for the public comment, and I immediately told her yes. Is that not correct, Alderwoman Green?
Yeah.
And I have always been I'm just saying, I want you to know this. I support public comment. I don't care if we agree or disagree.
I know you do. I
know
you do.
I interrupted you, so I'm going to start your time over, okay?
Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So anyway, you know, I know the election's just a week away. I wish we could have talked about this earlier. You know, Prop D, it seems like, I'm not involved, first of all. It seems like it has a lot of grassroots support. And I find it really sad when some people are talking about dark money. You know, we should not confuse dark money with grassroots support. To do that is really some Orwellian grade newspeak. And I find it really disturbing. I really do. So far, I've wanted to support Prop D because I think it would be good for our voting choice. I mean, it would be good. It'd be good to eliminate these spoiler candidates that we've had so far. And that's why I like the idea. I really do. You know, some people are going to say, what about voter choice? And I find that to be really disingenuous. That's some more of this what was I going to call it? I was going to say that was more of the civic grade newspeak, where we say one thing and we mean something else. Every time someone says voter choice, I think, is this going to improve voter choice? I really think that Proposition D would. But at the same time, if the Comptroller is against it, I want to hear more from her about that as well, because I really do respect what she says and what she thinks. I also respect what Cori Bush says, and also respect what Trishara Jones has been saying in support of this. And if they support it, I feel like I should support it. I mean, you know, I've worked in the St. Louis public schools for about 17 years now, and I've learned that when a Black woman talks, you listen. You really do. And I really want to listen to what people are saying. So I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. I do think if the board goes ahead and passes, this is Resolution 61, I think if you pass it, you might actually get more people to vote for Prop D. I think in a lot of ways, the more I hear people saying we oppose it, I think, oh, maybe I should vote for it, you know? It's really confusing. I mean, I'd like to hear more. I wish we were talking about this earlier again. And thank you. If I would love an opportunity to hear from you more, always, Chairwoman. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. And say some of that, whatever you're eating for me. Thank you so much. Okay, because I'm starving here.
I know. My legs falling asleep too. It's thank you.
Okay. Alderwoman Green, do you have any questions or concerns with the speaker? Okay, Alderman Vaccaro, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm here. I'll wait to the end.
Okay, Alderman Todd, questions or concerns?
No, I don't have any questions or concerns.
Alderwoman Evans, questions or concerns?
No questions or concerns.
Alderman Grass, questions or concerns?
No questions or concerns.
Okay.
One more thing.
So
one more thing. I do want to say that I
You don't
do
get to
not-
do one more thing. You don't get to
don't.
do
I
one
just-
more thing. You do not get to interrupt me, okay? Okay, but if you say that, you have to wait for me to acknowledge you, all right? Okay, so let me switch back here, okay? So you just, if you put your hand up or whatever, I will let you have one more thing that you need to say, but wait to be recognized, all right? Go ahead, you're recognized. You're recognized.
I just want to say that I do not want my address publicly released, okay? Even though I'm making
Okay.
public comment, I don't want my address to be publicly released. Thank you.
And on my sheet, it wasn't, your address is not here, okay? Okay, and then the last person, no, not the last, we got a couple more. The next person we have is Sarah Feltz. Sarah, F-E-L-T-S. Sarah? Hello? Hello? Sarah, are you here? Last call, Sarah. Okay, the next person we have is Susan Barley, B-A-R-L-E-Y. Susan?
I'm sorry, I did not ask to speak. I did not ask to speak.
Okay. Okay, the next person we have is Jed Limke, I think, L-I-M-K-E. Jed?
Yep, that's right.
Good afternoon. Hi, Jed.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm finding yourself.
I'm doing all right. Thank you so much.
Great. Sorry it's taken so long, but you got a lot of people here who have an opinion. So it's 12:37. You're going to take us into 12:40 or so.
All right. Well, I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. All right. So number one, I don't live in St. Louis. I live in the COVID-19 capital of the world, unfortunately. I live in Fargo. I was asked by several St. Louis residents to address the board today and summarize the efforts to implement approval voting here and address any concerns that you may or may not have about what we did here. So our mayor died at the end of 2014, and that caused an absence in the city commission that needed to be filled with a special election in 2015. And our winner won with 4 out of 5 voters not voting for him. Fast forward to the next year, we had a regular election in 2016. It was a 2-seat win election. 7 out of 10 voters didn't vote for the winner of that. 7 out of 10 didn't vote for the second winner of that race. And there was public outcry about that situation. So our city commission formed a task force to study the issue. I was appointed to that task force. We deliberated. We reached out to organizations across the country to ask them about their opinions on electoral reform. And eventually we delivered our recommendations to the commission, which was to adopt approval voting and put it to a public vote. Unfortunately, our city commission did not refer that to the ballot. So in early 2018, because that's how long some of these things take, as I'm sure all of you know, we decided to take it in our own hands. So we filed a ballot initiative with lots of support in the community. And we gathered signatures. There was another election during our signature drive where, again, 7 out of 10 people didn't vote for our winners. And that just, that emboldened our efforts, and our volunteer base grew further. And we knocked tens of thousands of doors and eventually got it onto the ballot for the November election. And it passed overwhelmingly, with basically a 2-to-1 in favor of it. And this year, we had a city election in June. It should be noted, our city elections are nonpartisan. They also do not have a runoff or a primary general process. There's only one election, and it is in June here in Fargo. And we had the largest voter turnout for our city election in the last 20 years. So I need to address a couple things. There may be people who want to repeal approval voting in Fargo. It is not true that the entirety of our city commission is looking to dismantle approval voting. And I know this because during this meeting, I have called the city commissioners and talked to them. And yes, the majority of them are not in favor of doing anything to get rid of.
I'm going to give you one minute. You have to wrap up.
Yeah, you bet. Absolutely. Thank you. So it just seems that Alderman Collins Mohammed may have been mistaken in this regard as to the support for removing approval voting from our city. There are certainly elected officials who oppose it, but I would be hard pressed to find elected officials that don't oppose any issue that I could bring forward to any of them. So yeah, that's basically it. We applied for a grant from the Center for Election Science as well. We're thankful for that money. We had local money and we had that money as well to advertise. It was very important when we were trying to pass the measure. It was the most expensive federal Senate race in North Dakota history was occurring at the time. Radio airtime cost $10 a second to put on an ad. Billboards were $5,000 a piece. It was exceedingly expensive, unfortunately, and that's, money in politics is a real problem. So,
we're going to wrap.
All right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Is it Lemke?
Lemke, that's right. Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Alderwoman Green, any questions or concerns?
Yes, I do. So I just want to make sure that I understand this correctly. Are there currently efforts in Fargo to repeal approval voting?
Not that I know of. I know that there are a couple city commissioners who existed through the entirety of the task force process, who are still opposed to it. Those particular commissioners also have not been in an approval voting race at this point. They're both up for election in 2022. So we will see if they, double down on their efforts to do something, but there are no repeal efforts that have been filed. I spoke with the city auditor this morning, and the commissioners that I spoke to are also not in favor of doing anything about that.
And I think there was also an accusation made earlier that the mayor of Fargo is opposed to this. Is the mayor opposed?
That is incorrect. He is not.
Okay. And I think it was also said that the majority of council members are opposed to it. Is that?
That is incorrect.
Okay. And the other thing that you spoke to, the other thing I'd like to ask, the resolution says that there's 19,495 people in Fargo. Is that correct?
No, that is incorrect. Fargo's population is closer to 130,000. We'll know more when the report for the 2020 census comes out. But we are at least 127,000. So I would say about 130,000. Although, unfortunately, with the pandemic sweeping through here, maybe that number.
Madam Chair, point of order.
Yes. Okay. Wait. Alderman, you are a sponsor, but you are not a member of the committee. So I will let you do this, but normally it's from the committee. What is your point of order?
The point of order, the vice chairman just falsely mistaken the content of my resolution. It does not say Fargo, North Dakota has 19,000 people. It says Fargo, North Dakota is one city of 19,495 cities in the United States. She misspoken. That's false. That's misleading. I would like her to retract that statement.
I will let you. We're going to wrap this up in the closing, and you will get to write it down, and we will address it. Madam Chairwoman, so you heard his contention that you misquoted what he said in his resolution. So go ahead.
I am reading it now in that way. That's not the way that I initially read that. I think that sentence is confusing, but that's something we can address later. Last question I had is you spoke to voter turnout increasing under this proposal. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, I think we all know that the pandemic has affected things in ways that none of us would like. But to that end, we had nearly 19,000 Fargo ballots in this election. That's the highest that I could find on record in the last 20 years, at least. It'd be nearly eclipsed by the 2008 primary. But yes, it seems that this election in 2020 had the highest turnout that we've had in the last 20 years, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you taking the time to teleconference in from Fargo today.
Yeah, you bet. Well, you probably don't want me there. I'm probably contagious or something. So.
One benefit.
Okay, anything else, Alderwoman Green?
That is for now. I do want to make sure, I think Kathleen Farrell may have gotten her mic fixed. I want to make sure.
She did text me already, but right, okay. Next, Alderman Mcclure, any questions or concerns?
Yes. Well, one, I'd like to almost call the question. We got to get this going. But I just one comment. This reminds me so much of the reduction of the Board of Aldermen, where all the money is spent in certain neighborhoods, nothing spent north. All of this and all the push will be that to disenfranchise the voters in the black or north wards. And we see this in 23. We saw this in the reduction of the Board of Aldermen, where all the money spent one way. And it seems to me that every time that it's brought up to even change it, where Alderman Muhammad's brought that up, it seems like there's a big opposition to actually put it on a ballot where it's fair. This was not, I was aware of it, but I know a lot of aldermen were not, especially north, where none of the money or signatures were gathered. And then even when you look at this today, not that I speak for black people or white people or anybody, but there was not one black person on this video conference that was speaking for or against this. Well, other than the lady from the League of Women Voters, but it seems like this was a very, where a person, in this case, Alderwoman Green said, can we have public testimony? And then it's only put out to the public that she wants to testify to this. This was very selective public testimony. Anyway, at that, I would like to call the question because I have to go.
We can't call the question. We're in the middle of hearing. I will say this, it is not selective public testimony because it was put out on the notice. I would never do that. I think if we just go on with we're just about finished with this process. I do believe in public testimony. If I had wanted to bring 15 people in here to speak against it, I could have. I do believe that people should have public testimony, and I will continue to support that. And we're just about at the end of our process. Past Alderman Vaccaro, Alderman Todd, do you have any questions or concerns?
No, I don't have any questions or concerns, Madam Chair.
Okay, Alderwoman Evans, do you have any questions or concerns?
Not at this time.
Alderman Grass, any questions or concerns?
No, I don't have any. Thank you.
Okay, and we have two other speakers. Michaela Allen, are you here?
I am here.
Okay, how are you, Michaela?
I'm good, thank you. Look at that.
Okay, it's 12:48. I want to just tell you. So for 9:51, you got to 12:51, and we're running really short of time because the sponsor has to leave. So I'm going to ask you to keep it to 3 minutes.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Michaela Allen. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. And I'm the electoral justice organizer for Action St. Louis Power Project. We are a Black-led grassroots racial justice organization, and we are testifying in support of Proposition D. Let me start by saying that this attempt by city officials to police democracy is a clear conflict of interest. Ballot initiatives as a tool to put an issue before us as voters is the most democratic process in this country. We are strong supporters and champions of ballot initiatives and the potential they hold to shape our lives and communities. And from a legislative body that is majority Democratic, what is happening here today is an incredibly undemocratic attempt to undermine your constituency. I've heard multiple Alder people say that there has been no public education about it and that voters don't really know what it is, but thousands of people in the city have already said that the new system of approval voting laid out in Proposition D is what they want to see on the ballot. The bottom line is that we have some people in the city that were elected with less than 3% of the vote. That's not democracy. And under our current system, elected officials will continue to win seats and ultimately lead our city without winning the majority of it. If Prop D passes, we as voters will actually have the chance to elect city leadership that earned their seats with the majority of the city behind them. Then a top 2 runoff gives us as voters the final chance to decide on which candidate we prefer, ensuring that whoever wins actually receives at least 50% of the vote. A minor change that will make our voting system more fair. Those who oppose Prop D have said that this initiative will decrease voter turnout, when in actuality, the opposite will happen. Our April elections, the way that they're set up now, are ridiculous and directly contribute to voter apathy. In our city, if you win the primaries, you've won the general. So people won't show up to the polls if they feel like they're going to end up voting for someone who isn't actually their top candidate. That is what will decrease voter turnout. Are people feeling like their voices don't matter and that they won't be heard? Prop D will be a minimal change for voters, as I said, and the end result is a fair election system for our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any questions or concerns, Alderwoman Green?
No, just thank you for coming and testifying today. I appreciate it.
Alderman Bacall, questions or concerns?
No.
Okay.
No
Alderman
question.
Todd, questions or concerns?
No, I don't have any questions or concerns, Madam Chair.
Alderwoman Evans, any questions or concerns?
No questions or concerns, Madam Chair.
Alderman Grass, any questions or concerns?
No, I don't.
Okay, and now I'm going to try to go back to Ms. Farrell, Kathleen Farrell. Hopefully she has her audio repaired. Ms. Farrell, are we able to hear you now?
Can you hear me?
Great, I hear that voice. I
Oh,
hear you
good.
great.
Thank you so much.
Okay, last but not least.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Kathleen Farrell, and I'm the city leader of the League of Women Voters. And I've worked with many of you, particularly on candidate forums and the Voters Guide. So you know that the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. We don't endorse parties or candidates, but we do take strong positions on issues, particularly ones that we believe affect the democratic process. In this election cycle, we are taking a very loud no on Amendment 3, and because we think that's very important, and we are taking a very strong supportive position of Proposition D for the same reason. I want to tell you how we got into this because I think it answers a lot of questions. Late last summer, a group of young folks came to the League of Women Voters and said that they were concerned about the fact that we kept electing mayors, presidents of the Board of Aldermen, etc., with less than sometimes 30% of the votes. And they thought that this was a problem. They also thought that the majority of cities in the United States had turned to nonpartisan city government because it worked better. And they said that they wanted to work on this issue and they wanted to know if we wanted to work on it with them. They applied for a grant from the Center for Election Science. Now, you must know that for 100 years, the League has been very careful, and we certainly don't deal in dark money. We researched the Center for Election Science, which we had already relied on for its very good research, looked at their 990 forms, looked at where they got their money. This is not dark money at all. This is a group of people who want money to go to improving election systems. It's much like the group, by the way, from California that we just got an over $1 million grant for to help our Board of Elections. There are various groups around the country who lend their expertise and their money, but are nonprofits and don't have dark money. And the Center for Election Sciences was one of them. This is a grassroots organization. League members have participated from the beginning, but we studied this issue, we took it to our board, we decided to support it. That was our process. We have donated hundreds of hours from educating voters, making presentations, getting citizen signatures, leafleting, and we're talking about folks who are in retirement, who are going with their canes door to door to talk to voters about this. And I do think it's slightly insulting to say that this is not a grassroots organization. We wrote 1,500 of those postcards. We delivered over 1,000 of those leaflets. We have talked to thousands of our neighbors and friends, and indeed we support it. Now, why would we do all of this work? We would do all of this work because we think that it'll make the city better. There are two parts of this. Number one, the nonpartisan part. People have already talked about that. 80% of cities in the United States have it. It has not hurt the Democratic Party. It has not kept Black candidates from being elected. Look at Kansas City. Look at Chicago. But there is a second part, and we would be a leader in the second part, and that's approval voting. We saw a problem. We keep electing people to lead our city who don't have support of sometimes 2/3 of the people in the city who voted. They don't have a mandate to lead. We need to move forward. And we think that very simply, the League of Women Voters believes that the people who have the most votes ought to be elected. That's why we're trying to have, a popular vote in the United States too for president of the United States. It will increase participation, and we're all about that, as you know. When we have 10% of the election and of the electorate going out in April, that's embarrassing. We think we'll have more voices if we can vote for people that we approve of and think are qualified in a
I'm gonna give you 1 minute because we're gonna lose our quorum.
Okay, and then have a runoff. We also are very concerned about vote splitting in St. Louis. And again, this was a solution to answer a St. Louis problem. I want to just end with, why didn't we go with ranked choice?
Somebody, it's got a lot of background noise.
Or
Mute
something
your mic.
else?
Go ahead.
We looked at what we had to work with and what we had to work with without changing the state constitution. This is a start to make things better. We hope you'll join us to deal with the county.
Cut,
officials.
and cut.
Okay.
Thank
It'll
you.
make St. Louis
Thank
more
you.
democratic, and the league is strongly in support of it.
Thank you. Alderwoman Green, I need to eat something now. Do you have any questions or concerns?
No, thank you, Kathleen, for testifying.
Okay, Alderman Vaccaro, let me say you don't have any questions or concerns, but do you? Alderman Vaccaro. Okay. Alderman Todd, any questions or concerns?
No,
Madam
it should
Chair,
be
I have any
unmuted now, I
questions or
hope.
concerns?
Okay, Alderwoman Evans, any questions or concerns?
No, no questions or concerns.
Alderman Grass, any questions or concerns?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and I do have something, but because the sponsor has to leave and people have to leave, I'm going to keep it to myself. Anybody that wants to stay afterwards, we can still have a talk because there's some things I'd like to hear from you and some things I would like to say. At this point, Alderman Collins, as the sponsor of the resolution, I'd ask you to close, please.
Hold on, are we allowed to
you.
ask questions of the sponsor now? We weren't.
I have to be in another meeting. I really need to get this to a vote now.
Okay,
That-
so wait a
that or
minute,
I
wait,
have to
wait,
leave.
wait, okay, everybody, I'm gonna run this meeting. Thank you. If you want to do this, then I'm going to continue this meeting over until the time when the sponsor and everybody can come back. Wait, it's too many people. Mute everybody's mic but mine, because I can hear all of you all talking. And I'm very good at being open to everybody's mic but mine is muted. Thank you. Okay, so if you, the Alderwoman from the 15th asked a question. If you want to, I have already recognized him for closing, but if you want to ask questions, I will allow you to do this. Then I'm going to not end the meeting. I am going to continue the meeting to a point when the alderman can come back and have time to respond to your questions. And I'm going to let anybody else who wants to ask questions on the committee do that. So if that is your druthers, then we will just continue this meeting. Alderwoman. Okay, please unmute her mic so she can answer me.
Yeah, I'm fine with continuing it. I think personally I had held my questions for the alderman until the end of the meeting and would like the opportunity to be able to ask those.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a recess, a 5-minute recess, and then I'm going to speak to the alderman off mic. And so then when I come back, we will talk about when we're going to actually continue our meeting to, okay? We're taking a 5-minute recess. Thank you. All right, then we're going to get started. Good afternoon. It is still Wednesday, October 28th, 2020 at approximately 3:26 p.m. We took a break. This is the Engrossment Rules, Resolution, and Credentials Committee meeting, and we are coming back to order. I did do a purview, a scan of the people, and Alderwoman Green is here, Alderman Mcclure is here, Alderman Todd is here, Alderwoman Evans is here, and Alderman Grass is here. So, and also the sponsor of the resolution, and Madam Comptroller returned, Alderman Gunther is here who has questions, and we will get started. We were at the point in which everybody had asked questions, and I told the sponsor that he could close. There was a question from the vice chair. She wanted to make sure that she could ask questions of the sponsor. So before the sponsor closes, if there's anything else you have to say before you close, Mr. Sponsor, I'll let you do that. And then I'm going to let the committee ask questions of you. And then Madam Comptroller has asked that she be able to say something else. So I will, of course, always let elected officials speak. So is there anything that you would like to say before questions are asked of you?
No, we can move right to the questions, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. We're going to start with my vice chair, Alderwoman Green.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. And thank you, Alderman Collins Mohammed, for yielding to questions. Just curious, given the discussion that we had by the person who testified from Fargo, can you tell us, I think you told us in the beginning that you spoke with all of the commissioners on the council in Fargo. Can you tell us who you spoke with?
I said I spoke with several commissioners on the council. Namely, it was Commissioner, his name's, I don't remember his name. This was last week when this was last week when the resolution was written. I don't remember his name, but I think his name was Tony. It was Tony, I believe. Not exactly sure what district he represents, but his name was Tony. He was elected in 2016 for the Fargo City Council. And through him, I spoke to 3 other commissioners.
Okay. And those 3 commissioners, do you remember their names?
I don't, Alderwoman. His name was Tony Gareg.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Because
Thank you. Do you have any more questions?
I do. So there's a statement in the resolution in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th whereas clause that says that it will decrease voter turnout. Do you have a citation for that, given that the person who testified from Fargo said that their voter turnout has gone up?
Does he have a citation for that? I mean, that's his opinion. It's his opinion versus my opinion, Alderwoman. And my opinion is based off the facts and looking at the voter statistics from Fargo, North Dakota. There was no uptick in voter turnout. And when you look at approval voting or ranked choice voting or any other form of voting, because there are several forms from second round to block voting to, again, ranked choice, approval, there are different forms of voting. And when you look at all these voting methods and all these voting procedures or these different ways of doing votes, there has not been a increase in voter turnout. In Fargo, North Dakota, there was not an increase whatsoever. But when you look at other cities who have adopted these numerous forms of different voting outside of what we normally do, which is polarity voting, you normally see a decrease. And the problem with this is this does not increase voter turnout. So the same way you asking me, how do I know that this is going to decrease voter turnout? I ask you, how do you know this is going to increase voter turnout? This doesn't increase voter turnout. This spreads out the votes, but it doesn't increase voter turnout. So is there a citation for that? Excuse me if I'm going fast. I have another meeting I have to get to. I did not anticipate answering questions. I thought we passed that section and that portion. And honestly, you're asking questions you already know the answer to. I believe that we know where you stand on this resolution and the issue. So I just find this to be a little bit unproductive. Not trying to be rude, but I really don't have an interest in answering your questions because I know where you stand and I don't think that they're genuine. But this is the rules of our body, so I must entertain your questions, which I am doing. But forgive me if I sound a little impatient or if I'm moving too fast. I have something else I need to do that requires my time and attention.
I appreciate that. I think it's very important that we have accurate information that's on the record. And the gentleman who was gracious enough to lend our time previously, and I'm trying to look through my notes right now and find it, but he did share with us the exact voter turnout from before and after. And I think it is important that we have that on the record. Last question, or a couple of, the next line right after that says, this will eliminate the Democratic Party's stronghold on the city of St. Louis. I guess my question to you is it really appropriate that as a taxpayer funded body, we are passing a resolution that is saying that we are in favor of a certain political party over another political party?
Alderman Collins, do you have a response?
He seems to be frozen.
I actually see him twice. One of them, he's muted. You came back and you're muted on your second. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I guess I'm having technical difficulties. I'm not exactly sure. Did I miss a question?
Yeah, the question that I asked is, there's a line in that same clause that says that this will eliminate the Democratic Party's stronghold on the city of St. Louis. My question is, that statement is essentially saying that we as a taxpayer funded entity support the Democratic Party. And I am wondering about, I guess, your thoughts on whether it is appropriate for a taxpayer funded body like ours to weigh in saying that we believe in one political party over another.
Connection broke up a little bit. I think I heard your question. I believe you asked, do I think it's appropriate for the Board of Aldermen or a government entity to take a stance on an issue?
No, not an issue on supporting one political party over another.
I don't think that we're supporting a political party. I think we're taking a stance on an issue. So my answer is this does not support a political party. The resolution does say that it will drastically affect and diminish the role of the Democratic Party in the city of St. Louis. That's why I chose to put in the resolution. If you want to offer an amendment to include the Republican Party or the Libertarian Party or perhaps the Progressive Party, I am all in favor of doing it as well. If you want to make that amendment to include the different parties as well, I would definitely support it. Do you want to make that amendment, Alderwoman?
I mean, I would be more comfortable with language that says, and will eliminate the influence of political parties in the city of St. Louis. So that it is a nonpartisan statement.
Sure. If you want to make that amendment, Alderwoman, I'm all for it. That's still, it has the same effect to this proposition, right? The same effect to any party, regardless of the political structure of our city. Of course, our city is democratic. Everybody runs as Democrats or they run as independents and then switch to the Democratic Party. So if you want to make that amendment, hey, let's go for it.
All right. Let me finish.
Awesome. Any more questions? You did say that was your last question. Did you
yeah.
have any more?
No, one final thing. I'm just wondering the difference between ranked choice and approving, because they seem to be used interchangeably.
Yeah, they are interchangeable. I think they both cut from the same cloth, for the woman. Are you asking me what's the difference between both?
Yes.
Is there a reason why you're asking me that? Because that's not really germane to the topic. We're talking about this resolution number 61. And if you have questions directly to that, I can answer. But if you want to play a guessing game going back and forth, it seems like you're stalling and wasting time and somewhere filibustering. Again, I have something important to do. I know where you stand on the issue. You know where I stand. I would really just respect for you to take your vote no, so we can just get this over with.
All right, I appreciate your
Okay,
time.
wait. I'm going to run this committee. I'm going to run it, not either one of you all. So I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Alderwoman Green. What was your question?
I was asking, the terms ranked choice voting and approval voting have been used interchangeably by the alderman during this discussion. And so I was asking for him to clarify the difference between the two.
And it is your response that you don't wish to clarify, Alderman Collins Muhammad?
No, Madam Chair, the Vice Chair is mistakenly saying that I am using these words to solidify another, and I'm not. I use ranked choice voting as a example, as well as the other members on this particular call, including the people that you have calling in support of this. Ironically, no one that you have calling in support lives in North St. Louis, but the people who you have calling and supporting this proposition have used ranked choice voting, and I use that as an example. Ranked choice voting and approval voting is entirely different. In fact, ranked choice voting would probably be a little bit more better because it ranks candidates. Under approval voting, you're not ranking candidates. You're creating an even playing field, which will allow candidates who honestly don't stand a chance of winning anything in our city. This actually gives them that opportunity. And this actually creates a stalking horse because now you have the opportunity to win by manipulating numbers. That's my answer to that, Madam Chair. And that's only out of courtesy because you solidified her question.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions. Alderwoman, at the end of this, will we be allowed to make a couple of closing comments before our votes are recorded? Or shall I make
No, you should make them now because we're going to move on. Okay, so if you have something to say, now is the time to do it. We're having the sponsor only because the Madam Comptroller is here. And I told you this before, I will always let elected officials have a say. So go ahead and do any kind of closing arguments now, and we will move on to the next person. And we're going to let the Comptroller have a minute, and then we're going to let the sponsor close on this resolution.
Sure. I think that, the thing that I want to hammer home is, my very first election for the board, I did not get over 50% of the vote to win. It was a special election. I think I got low 40s in terms of support. And I personally question how democratic of a process that is when people can represent folks without having a large swath of support. When this was done in Fargo, actually the folks that spearheaded the effort were, from the point of the council, were people who won their respective elections with 15 or 16% of the vote. And they also felt like that was unfair and undemocratic for them to win their seats with such a small percentage of the vote. And that is the reason they made the commission to work on this and to study the issue. Once this passed, those same people ended up taking the majority of votes that came out in their respective district they were running for. They ended up getting the number one slot, and with an overwhelming majority, I think close to 60%, if memory serves me correctly. And that creates a more democratic system than we have right now. And I think, my personal opinion would be that this is a citizen-led initiative and it impacts our body. And I think that it is inappropriate for us to be weighing in on this as a body for something that the citizens have said a piece of legislation that would impact us. I think we have a very vested interest and perhaps conflict of interest in weighing in on this. And at this point in time, I think we should be out there educating our constituents if we're for or against this, rather than taking a position as a body, and instead, allow the voters to weigh in on this. I do have concerns that we are. A lot of the verbiage around this has been to protect a certain political party. And I also have hesitancy about our role as the taxpayer-funded body in supporting a very specific political party, which is, I feel like, what this does, even if I am a member of that party. So those are my closing remarks. No surprise, I'll be voting no today. And I greatly appreciate the Alderwoman from the 1st, Madam Chairwoman, for allowing public comment today, for allowing a robust discussion. I think it's very important for democracy that we are getting appropriate information out to folks, that they see the deliberative process, and then we allow for this level of inquiry to take place. So I greatly appreciate you for that.
Thank you. Alderman Carl, do you have any?
I have, yes. I have.
You didn't even let me ask you.
I am so glad that Alderwoman Green believes that when a petition is made, we should honor that, just like the airport. Except for they all said, gee, we signed this, but then we didn't mean to sign it. And then they were arguing, well, we don't care that they lied. They lied in the petition, just not on their petition. I'm tired of them picking certain areas to go after. And what really aggravates me, probably more than anything, I don't care about Fargo. I don't care about Jefferson City. I'm tired of all these outsiders telling us how to run the city of St. Louis. Jeff City does stuff. We should be the ones making the choices, what we do. Now, what we're going to check with Fargo? Well, hey, why not? Let's go over and make sure Illinois, this is the city of St. Louis. We're elected. I get very mad when we start saying, gee, you know what? Let's bring in other people, and then we can make up shit. And I'm sorry I'm using that word. Make up things. It always seems that, and I'm going to say this and then everybody will get mad at me, but, it just seems that the certain group of progressives on the Board of Aldermen seem to have their agenda, and whatever they say is always right. They never go along with anybody. I'm going back to the 28 wards that when the aldermen, the caucus are supporting something different, they feel very strongly. So, I'm going to say this, and like I said, and then I'll get off, and I'm sure somebody will be offended. But, if you believe that Black Lives Matter, then you should believe that Black leadership matters. And when we do things like the 14 wards, that's definitely going to affect Black leadership. And we're allowed to bring money into certain wards where certain people with money are going to go after a candidate. It's a bad idea. And for me, I'm not that worried. I'm basically on my way out anyway. I'm staying the next term to draw the map to try to make it as fair as possible. But after that, I'm done. I can tell you right now. It just seems that we sit there and Chairwoman Tyus, more than everybody that you get the right people and the right money, and they will gerrymander, and they will make sure that when we got the 14 wards and you do this kind of a thing, that they'll make sure that somebody gets in there, and then we're capped on how much money we could spend through a whole election cycle. So if you spend all your money running in the general, and the person that holds back gets 3% of the vote, let's say, you're going to have to run against that person, and that person could have all kinds of money put behind them. But I'll go back to my original. I don't care about Fargo. If you like Fargo that much, move there. Run for their board. We're in the city of St. Louis. If you feel Jefferson City, run for state rep. I know you've done that a few times. You haven't made it. But if you feel that you should be in Jeff City, go to Jeff City. We're the Board of Aldermen in the city of St. Louis. We're the ones that make the rules and the decisions. I'm so tired of that. And I'll leave it at that because I really got to get down out of the car into the house. But I'm going to stay so I can vote. And I'm a definite yes vote on this. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for what it's worth. We don't need all these outsiders coming in telling us what to do.
Thank you, Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Todd, did you have any questions or comments to the sponsor, or do you want to have something to say before the sponsor closed? And we are still going to let Alderman Gunther and Madam Comptroller speak. Alderman Todd. Alderman Todd. I see you, but you may be having a little difficulty. So I'm going to go on to the next person. I'll come back to Alderman Todd. Alderwoman Evans. You have any comment? You need to unmute. Unmute.
Can you hear me now?
I sure can. Thank you.
No, I don't have any comments or questions at this time.
All right, thank you. Alderman Grass, do you have any questions of the sponsor, any comments, or any final thing you want to say?
Well, I have something, and at the risk of sounding entirely stupid, which it probably is going to sound stupid.
No questions or stupid, no comments. Everybody has a difference, and they have a right to say it. And you're a valued member of this committee.
Oh, well, thank you. So on the agenda for today, the last thing is resolutions for review. And it's this one. So we've already engrossed this, right?
No. So, no, we don't engross or enroll resolutions. So we always do that for bills. So resolutions we actually get to hear, and then we vote them out and send them back to the full board to vote on.
Okay, so I was just I'm a little confused.
No, you're new, and we don't often do. Sometimes we don't do resolutions.
Okay, so we're just here today to take a look at this and chat about it.
And then we will make a vote if we support it or not, and then it goes out to the full board, either with a recommendation or for it or against it.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I appreciate that.
Any questions that you have, please ask, because that's how we find out. Because everybody's been new. Nobody came to this board, even me. Right. Okay. Alderman Todd, I don't know if we lost you or you came back or what. Alderman Todd. Okay. Alderman Gunther, are you still here?
I am still here, Madam Chair. I would like to yield to Comptroller Green, though, since she is waiting diligently to say something. So I like to yield to the Comptroller. I think she has seniority.
You're so nice, but aldermen on this committee are more important than the Comptroller. Okay, no. If you would like to do that, that's fine. Madam Comptroller.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted you to know that on this committee, the aldermen are more important, but you're still one of my favorite elected officials. Okay, Madam Comptroller, we're going to kind of get out of line a little bit because the alderman is yielding to you, and I wanted you to be able to have, if you have something to say or make a statement or even question, do you have a question for the sponsor, or do you just have something you want to say more?
I just had something that I wanted to say more because I recall the vice chair asking me quite a few questions, and I think she did want to ask me a question that she did not ask. So I just wanted to just make a few comments and hopefully I answer what I believe that she was trying to get at. First of all, I wanted to say that I'm totally for democracy, transparency, and accountability and good government. I represent the people of the city of St. Louis with that in mind, as I am an elected official. So I wanted to make that really clear. I spoke about what the elected leaders should be elected by a majority vote. And I think that's where the vice chair was trying to get at. Do I agree with that? I wholeheartedly agree that there should be more than 1/3 of the electorate voting for leaders of the city. So I get the goal. The goal is to make sure we're electing an elected leader with 51% of the vote or better. We're looking at that also being a goal for increased voter turnout. I'm all for that. And I hope that this, if this is passed, that it gets it. But I'm on the fringes because of the flaws that I pointed out. I think that, having no limit in the number of people that can run for office could cause some unintended consequences. So I really wanted to point that out. I think that nonpartisan is okay. I'm not against that. And I think that's something else you were trying to get at. But I think that the county and the city offices or that run citywide, they all should be treated the same. And I wanted to make that point clear as well. And as I wrap up, I wanted to say I did have an opportunity to speak to the chairman of Prop D, which is Mallory. I spoke to her, and I wanted to, out of all due respect, to let her know, how I felt about it. And so that did happen. And I also want to say I do honor the League of Women Voters and all the membership and all the people that worked hard to do this effort. But I just really think that the flaws may cause us to have some unintended consequences. And so I just want to point those things out. Mallory and I talked about the fact that the ranked choice voting was the actual system that is, going, that is throughout the United States, say 80%, not approval voting. So she and I had that discussion, but, whatever you call it, whether it's a ranked choice or whatever, when you think about the calculations of the voting, those two systems are defined as in the election cycle, and they've been tested. And so it does get into like a mathematical model of what we have. And I think it has been pointed out, it will be new, it will be different. And so, we're yet to see what the end result will be. I hope that we don't get more stalking horses, but that could be an unintended consequence. And it's unfortunate because I think that the fact that all we're doing is adding more people, collapsing, I call it collapsing in terms of the nonpartisanship, collapsing the primary into a nonpartisan, and then just adding whoever should come, and then your count is still the highest percentage winner. And then that moves over to a general election, and then once again, the highest percentage winner. And then the voters did not have the opportunity to put a 1 for choice 1 or 2 for choice 2. They don't have that because our equipment is not equipped for that. So I wanted to point those out. I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone, but I thought that, the careful thought put in by the people who thought, that we're trying to do something that brings out more voters, and also talks about electing an elected official with a majority vote of 51%. Those are the goals. Have we met it? I don't know. So that's why I'm for this amendment.
Okay.
Not amendment, resolution. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And now we're going to go back to the gentleman from the 9th, Alderman Gunther.
Thank you, Chairwoman Tyus. And I'd also like to say I'd really appreciate, as Chairwoman, you being so malleable to be able to offer public testimony on this resolution today. And I think that's really important when you look at the people that signed up with basically 1 day notice to be able to come in and speak on this resolution. You know, out of the 21 people that signed up, 20 of them were just citizens of the city of St. Louis. Well, 19, one was from Fargo. But the majority of them were just citizens from St. Louis. They're taking an interest in how our democracy works. And quite honestly, there's a lot of citizens that have been upset with results such as the mayor race and the board of president race, to where someone with, you know, under 51% gets to lead a top office. And that's the reason that this group of volunteers and citizens, our constituents, decided to put the work into this. So, so again, I want to thank you for offering public testimony, and I don't want anyone to lose sight of the fact that those are our city of St. Louis residents. They're just trying to figure out how to make democracy better. So I did have, you know, I wanted to kind of go back. You know, it was brought up by Alderwoman Grass earlier, you know, where she was saying, you know, are we just hearing this? But this committee is taking a vote on whether the language that is in this resolution should go before the full board and ask for a full board support for us to put out a resolution that, after listening to hours of testimony earlier, I want to make clear that a lot of what is in this resolution is false. So if the alderman from the 21st would yield for a question, I would appreciate it.
Alderman Collins Muhammad, would you yield to a question from the alderman from the 9th? I need you to verbalize. Unmute.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Alderman Collins Muhammad. So as the author of this resolution, as well as someone that I listened on public radio, being one of the opponents of Prop D, I wanted to just ask you, after listening to the testimony from the people leading this proposition earlier, do you still believe that this is dark money leading a petition with outsiders? Or do you believe the speakers from the League of Women Voters who acknowledged that this is something that was vetted thoroughly? It is not dark money. It is a coalition of people that look for ways to make elections more democratic. Do you believe now that there is not dark money and that there is not outsiders running this campaign?
It's hard to answer your question because you try to framework a question to fit your narrative. So I will say this. I do believe that this concoction is supported and led by special interest in dark money. And even when you look at the MEC reports from STL Approves or the Prop D campaign, I see $50 donations, $20 donations from people who do not live in the city of St. Louis, from Portland, Oregon, and Las Vegas. And I've seen a couple of St. Louis donations from zip codes inside our city and zip codes outside our city. So to answer your question, without the false narrative that you drummed up with it, I stand by the conviction that I have, along with many others, especially Black elected officials, that this is dark money and special interests trying to corrupt our democratic process and manipulate our voters into something that this is entirely not. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Alderman.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, my question was simply, do you still think this is dark money? So I just want to remind the other people on the committee that also sat through the testimony that you have the League of Women Voters saying that this was a grant from an organization that is not dark money, is very well researched. So I want to just kind of point out that, you know, the fact that I think it was one of the organizers from Prop D brought up the fact that less than a quarter of the money was that grant. So over 75% of the funds that were raised to be able to push this initiative were actually St. Louis citizens, or maybe people that live elsewhere but are, you know, have a tie to St. Louis, that they want to make sure that this proposal is put before the voters, and that's all it is. You know, I'm not standing here saying that I think we should all agree with B. I'm not saying that, you know, it shouldn't just be the choice of people going to the ballots that have done the research. But I want to clarify, because your resolution and what you've been saying on public radio of it being dark outside money, I just think that's false. It's proven. And if you don't trust the League of Women Voters, I'm not sure who you're going to trust. So that was one thing. A second thing I wanted to ask about, you know, again, because this is, if this committee and then eventually the full board is going to vote on the language in this resolution. There's a lot of talk about disenfranchising voters. And so I want to just ask, I guess, the alderman from the 21st, did you know that, you know, Action St. Louis, who spoke today, as well as OBS, have supported this proposition? Are you aware of both of those?
Yes, Alderman.
Okay, so my follow-up to that would be that, you know, if we can't trust Action St. Louis and OBS to do the research and to advocate in their communities, I don't think that there's many other people in the city of St. Louis that we can say are against disenfranchising voters than those organizations. So I would also like to say I don't believe your language in the ballot is true, that this is about disenfranchising voters. The next thing.
I'm sorry, you were still talking. I apologize.
Yeah, I apologize to the chairwoman from the first. I'm trying to wrap questions and my arguing into one.
I didn't say you have to do that. You're doing that, but okay.
I took that from your response to the alderwoman from the 15th earlier, that's what you wanted us to do.
I let her ask questions first, and then I told her to wrap up, okay? Right. Follow what I said.
I'm just adding them together. The other thing, you know, Alderman Vaccaro basically said he doesn't care what Fargo has to say. And I want to bring this up because it is stated
if
in
I'm
the
being addressed, I would like the opportunity to respond.
I'm sorry, I have the floor, I believe. But it is stated, Fargo is in the resolution. So if you're going to go on radio and you're going to say that, oh, the city that does this doesn't want it, but then we're going to have a speaker that says that's not true at all, I think that as voting members here, you guys are the first ones that got the firsthand testimony of someone on the council from Fargo that says, well, no, the mayor isn't against it. And sure, some people maybe don't think it works, but he did state factually that Fargo's voter turnout has increased because this gives people an incentive to go to the elections to vote for who they want first. So I think that, you know, it's something that is a false statement in the narrative of the sponsor saying that Fargo is the only place that does it and they don't like it. I think that's a false statement. And then let's see. I also want to mention a couple things. You know, I yielded to the Comptroller earlier because she is one of my favorite elected officials. But she mentioned that.
Next to me, of course.
Yeah.
I know.
But she mentioned in there about limiting the number of people that run for an office. I think that's the most undemocratic thing we can do, to say we want to limit the number of people. I think that this proposition has come out of the fact that I think we had 7 or 8 people running for mayor, and out of that, we got someone that with less than, with less than a majority. Let's put it that way. So I think that this is just something that people think maybe this would allow us to narrow down, and then our general election, we get to pick our favorite out of the top 2 people. So I don't think that, this is something that is going to diminish, turnout or diminish a representation or any of those things. So, so that was what I wanted to follow up. I think we should have, there shouldn't be a limit, but this would give us a way to narrow that large number of people down, which is important. And then, I guess trying to wrap it up, our current national election, I think what disenfranchises voters is having to choose between a D or an R. And everyone thinks that we have only 2 choices, red or blue. I think that opening up a process like this would allow us to have a lot more ideas at the table about candidates. We can have Green Party. We can have independents. We can have, as the alderman from the 21st stated, we can have a libertarian. We can have multiple people with multiple ideas about what government should be, and people run on policy. So I think that this proposal is something that increases maybe, the quality of people that we get that really want to fight for, whether it's Green Party issues or stuff like that. So I think it's important, that I think it's as the alderwoman from the 15th said, I think it's horrible that in the language of a resolution for our board that we're specifying that this is just going to hurt Democrats. I was happy that the alderman from the 21st was okay with an amendment, but then let's make an amendment. Let's do that amendment. But that doesn't mean you're going to rush and go ahead and vote on this today so that it comes to the board on Friday, so that 3 days before an election, we get to say, oh, we're against something. So, let's make an amendment that says this might actually increase the number of parties that are able to participate in our democracy. So those are just kind of my, again, questions and final statements on this wrapped up, and why I spent 4 hours earlier today and now another hour on Zoom for this issue. That I think this isn't something, let the voters decide, but this isn't something that we should be making a no statement on as a Board of Aldermen. And I hope that the committee members can somewhat see what I'm getting at here with how this is, it's just an option that can go to the voters, but it might increase turnout. It might increase the political theory of our Board of Aldermen, and it will not, it's not dark money, and it's not going to disenfranchise people. So again, thank you, Chairwoman, for giving me the opportunity to say something on this before we have to do it next Friday on the floor. And hopefully we can kind of put a hold on this. And if you want an amendment, we can get one. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Alderman Todd, did you ever get back on? Because I wanted to give you a chance to say something if you wanted to say something, if you got back on. If not, I'm going to say a few things. The first thing I'm going to say is that the people who do this petition didn't seem to understand the process. They were surprised about the Board of Aldermen taking a position. But if I actually had, I had it put on a line in our Google Docs, the actual petition for Proposition D. And the reason why I wanted people to have a chance to go out and look at what the petition looks like. But when you do an initiative petition, it doesn't go around the Board of Aldermen. It actually gives the Board of Aldermen approximate amount of time to act. And then if we do not act, then it goes to a vote. So for those who think that they take the Board of Aldermen out, that does not happen. And in fact, the petition for Proposition D says, to the Board of Election Commission of the City of St. Louis, Missouri, we, the undersigned registered voters of the City of St. Louis, Missouri, respectfully request that the ordinance attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference be submitted to the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis, and if the Board of Aldermen fails to adopt it, that it be submitted to the registered voters of the City of St. Louis, Missouri at the first election at which such submission may be lawfully held in accordance with the city charter. And each for him or herself say I have personally signed the petition. And I'm a registered voter and so forth. So for those who think we shouldn't get in this, we are always in this from the beginning. So that's an education process for those who say, I'm surprised that the Board of Aldermen is getting in it. We are elected representatives of our community, and we are in it from the beginning, from our charter. So there, it doesn't say go bypass the Board of Aldermen. So I wanted to say that. I also want to address this issue in which is paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in which it says, if passed, Proposition D will disenfranchise voters, decrease voter turnout, and will eliminate the Democratic Party stronghold on the City of St. Louis. I don't see that as advocating for the Democratic Party. I saw that as a fact. I have been on this Board of Aldermen 18 years. If I was not cheated, I would have been here 30 years. And so we do have a Democratic stronghold, but we have had other parties for many years. The 12th Ward, for over, I think, 20 something years, the 12th Ward was a Republican. Okay. So he ran as a Republican and he won over and over. And the alderman was Fred Hyder. We shared a birthday, and he was one of our longest serving members. But because he was true to who he was, he could have been the senior ranking member, but he was not, because he kept running as a Republican. And so he did not have the majority of the members of the board, which is our rules say that the controlling party is the majority who's been there the longest. So even though he had the longest amount of time, Alderman Hyder, Republican, did not have anything except for he was always our minority leader. So he was able to maintain a very long period of time. The other person who was here for a long time and was an independent was the alderman from the 22nd Ward, Kenny Jones. He was an independent for many, many years. So when I hear people saying about this opportunity for others to participate, actually, if you don't run as a Democrat, you have the best opportunity to participate of anyone, because you can run as a Green Party. You can run as, if they've been recognized as a party within our rules, you can run. You also can run as an independent. You can get your petition out there and run as an independent. So there are things that you can do. You do not have to run as a Democrat if you don't want to. I personally I am different than the Comptroller, and that I like the partisan. I like that you say who you are. I think a lot of times when people do nonpartisan, it is, I don't like that, because they're hiding behind who they are. And for many, many years in South St. Louis, there were people who were really Republicans who ran as Democrats, and we all knew that. And that was the joke. In fact, one of them from the 16th Ward kind of outed himself about that. So I would prefer you just say who you are. I have always liked that for people, be it racism or whatever. I liked George Wallace said who he was, and that he, as a child, that he didn't want Black people to be able to do stuff. I like overt versus covert. Covert is much harder to discover. Overt, whoever it is, you get to see it. I think that's why people are very uncomfortable when people are overtly racist, but then when they do covert things, they're comfortable with that. I had some people, when I tried to get my seniority back, say, well, why didn't she do that? Why didn't she do this? Not why in the world that they have an all-white meeting and tear up the most successful ward in North St. Louis and the most Democratic ward in the city of St. Louis. So that covert, I don't like at all. Please tell me who you are so I can know who you are. And so the other thing is the Comptroller testified about confusion. And I think that this sometimes we run smack into life experience or how living in another part of the city or representing another part of the city. I've been very fortunate. I've lived in the Central Quarter. I've lived in South St. Louis for 8 years, and now I've been in North St. Louis for 34 years. And so I've got to see the politics in very different communities, and I know each community pretty well. And one of the things that happens, and then I've been able to represent 2 wards. I've been stripped of my seniority, had to fight to come back here. Now I've got a lot of seniority again, but represent a different ward than what I had before, very different, because it's really 2 wards. I represent 2 wards almost. And a lot of times you may not understand when things change that people get confused. A lot of times older people, when they're used to something one way, when you change it like this and you implement this all of a sudden, they don't get that. Now, as a younger person, you would think, well, I don't understand why. I hear people talk about, well, I posted something online. Why don't they know about it? Because a lot of older people may not have access to the internet and they're not spending their lives doing this. Okay, so they don't know. And so if your life experience has been that you always have been on the internet, that you've always had access to Zoom or Skype or whatever, you don't know this great proportion of people that is not their life. And so that is not their life experience. I am really opposed to implementing something at the next election like that. Now, I agree with those of you who say don't like 32% becoming anything. I don't either. And the people who went out and did this, I wish they would have sat down, because there could have been some compromise that I might have supported. But the way it is now, I do not support it. I do not support, we're going to do this on the next election. When they finally did allow us to do absentee voting and mail-in voting, I really worked really hard in my community to send out explanations about the difference. So we actually divided our ward into the older people and said, this is the ballot you need to be voting if you're going to be doing absentee, and then the next group of people. And we worked hard, and there still was a lot of confusion. Change it does not go about usually with people who have been doing something a long time the way you think it might, because you're so used to things then, not just because of age, but if you have been used to driving away and then all of a sudden it's blocked off, you will get such pushback that it's not funny if you all of a sudden can't drive down that street. And people are like, but I've been driving down that street and making a right for 50 years and now it's changed. And they get very upset about that. So when you're changing an election process in November, and then you're going to have the election in the first week of March, that is too close for comfort for me. As far as all the people that came to testify, I didn't invite anybody to testify because I had done my own research and I had my own position, and I made it perfectly clear to my vice chair who differs with me. But people who differ with me, I don't have a problem, and still they get to present their points of view. And I didn't bring a lot of people because short of something amazing, my vote was not going to be changed. So, but I do think that I am so opposed to people not being able to come in and present their point of view. And maybe you will say something that will change me. That has happened before, but it didn't. When I hear OBS and Action St. Louis is supported, and I support the people, I like those people there, but they also supported the Citizens Review Committee, which I kept telling people, I don't care what they say, it is not going to work how they said it. How is it that now everybody comes back to me and says, you were so right? Because I actually do. I don't just take positions. I read. I don't have a progressive agenda. I've had a lot of these positions since 1991, 92. If you saw me back then, those were my positions based on my research. So OBS, the American newspaper, that does not sway me about what my opinion is. Good conversation, explaining, research does that. And they've been wrong way more than they've been right. They've come to me way more times and said, oh, Sharon, you were right. If I could just fill up my closet with money for the times that I took unpopular opinions, and then people come back and say, oh, you were right. That comes from life experience, from representing people for a long time. And my heart really is into representing people. So that's what happened. So when I hear people say, oh, you just don't want, I want people to participate. As I said, if I have a position, I say it so that you can hold me responsible for it. The voters can hold me responsible if they don't like. I've had people tell me because I didn't agree with the first Black mayor that, Ms. Tice, you're the best alderperson we ever had, but you should go along with whatever the mayor says. Then you're just going to vote me right out because I'm never going to be that person, okay? So OBS, American, Action St. Louis, that's all fine for them. I don't think that this is a good, I don't agree with Proposition D. And I don't even have problem with the alderman stating this will eliminate the Democratic Party stronghold on the city of St. Louis, because I don't think he is promoting that it should be. That is a fact. I want somebody who's in St. Louis who doesn't know that's a fact, because that is a fact. We have a stronghold. And I would encourage people who are not Democrats, start running as Republicans, start running as other independent candidates. Don't just go along and say, well, that's the easiest way to be inside the mix and get seniority. Actually stand up for what you believe and run on what the party that you believe in. So let's see what else. I want to thank the people who came. I appreciate you spent a lot of time. Average citizens, the person from Fargo, North Dakota, I don't have problems with getting information from many, many sources. I listened to what he said, and I'll take that into further consideration. But at this point, I'm not going to speak much further because I am going to support Resolution 61 as it is. If the alderman is looking to change it, that's his prerogative, but I don't have a problem with this being said that this is a Democratic Party stronghold. When all of your elected officials in the entire city have a D behind their name, that's a fact, not an advocacy. As far as dark money, I wish we could get dark money out of politics. So what one person calls dark money, other person calls money that educates people. I don't really get into it. If I could, I would be on the Supreme Court and get rid of Citizens United, but I can't. And we're really not going to get rid of it with our new justice that we have. But we're going to have an election on November the 3rd, and we may have some other ways to change that. I'm going to tell you that I want to wrap up by saying I am in support of Resolution 61. I didn't have my name on it because I don't put my name on a lot of legislation. I really do try to read and hear and try to decide what my opinion is or what's in the best interest of my community. But ultimately, I do support Resolution 61, and I will be voting for it. And I would encourage other people to vote for it on this committee. And with that, I know Alderman Alderman Bacall, you wanted to reply to something that someone said, but I would ask you if you could, if you really have to do that, if you don't.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. At this point, then I would like to turn it over to the sponsor, Alderman Don Collins Muhammad, to close so that we can then look to do a motion to either pass this resolution or not pass it or whatever. Alderman Collins Muhammad, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your remarks, and thank you for your leadership. I formally ask the committee to pass resolution number 61 in its current form.
Okay, so at this point, I would entertain a resolution to pass Board Bill 61 out. I'm sorry, not Board Bill, Resolution 61 out.
I'll make
that.
that
Let me finish. Okay. Let me finish, please. Thank you. I would entertain a motion to pass out resolution number 61 with a due pass resolution to due pass to the full Board of Aldermen.
I'll make that motion that we pass this resolution out as it is with a due pass recommendation to the full Board of Aldermen. Okay, we have a motion to pass out Board Bill 61 with a due pass recommendation. We have a second. I'm sure that we have an opposition to a previous roll, so I'm not even going to ask that.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, I'm not going to let you be the chair. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll? I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, people, so this is my evening. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Mcclure,
Aye.
Alderwoman Green,
No.
Alderman Todd, Alderwoman Evans,
Aye.
Alderwoman Grass,
Aye.
Chairwoman Tyus,
Aye.
Alderman Todd. Four aye votes and one no vote.
By your vote, you've recommended that we pass out resolution, what is it?
61.
61 with a do pass recommendation to the full board. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I will encourage other chairs to please have more open conversation and to let people come and testify, especially in this age of Zoom. It is long, and even if somebody is on the different side than you, they actually do have a right to express their opposition and their opinion. We do represent citizens of the City of St. Louis, and I want to thank the sponsor and all the wonderful people that came to testify. And I have the best committee of everybody, so I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
Do we need a
Okay, do we have
to adjourn?
Wait a minute. Do we have before we do we have anything else we want to bring before the committee? I always ask that. If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll be happy to second that.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. A second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? By your vote, we are adjourned. Thank you again. I appreciate you.